It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. Well, we got a great panel for you. Jeff Jarvis is here. He's visiting us from his home in New Jersey. Also in studio, Mark Millian of Bloomberg Business Week and our old friend Nathan Olivarez-Giles. We're going to talk about Google I/O, all the things Google announced, Facebook's new rules for blocking abuse. It might blow you away. And what Theresa May has planned for the UK. That may scare you. It's all coming up next on Twit.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for This Week in Tech is provided by CacheFly at CacheFly.com. This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 615, recorded Sunday, May 21st, 2017. Biz-sized hole. This Week in Tech is brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, work with one that has your best interest in mind. Use Rocket Mortgage for a transparent, trustworthy home loan process that's completely online at quickenloans.com/twit2. And by Betterment, a smart, easy-to-use, and less expensive way to invest for your financial future. Get 1 month managed free when you make an initial deposit of $10,000 or more at betterment.com/twit. And by WordPress. WordPress powers 27% of all the websites in the world. Get 15% off your new website at wordpress.com/twit. That's wordpress.com/twit. And by Carbonite. Keep your business safe this year. Protect your business from ransomware and hacker attacks with automatic cloud backup from Carbonite. Try it free at carbonite.com. Use the offer code TWIT to get 2 free bonus months if you decide to buy. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we cover the week's tech news. And as Jeff Jarvis said, it's a journo-heavy panel today. Jeff Jarvis joins us via Skype.
I'm the heaviest journo and the oldest journo.
The old journo.
Yeah, the old man.
Buzzmachine.com is his blog. Of course, he's a professor of journalism, so that counts at the City University of New York. He's esteemed and respected professor of journalism, the author of many great books, and my booth mate at the we
were in the VIP booth.
In the VIP booth. We were just down the road a piece from some other VIPs I didn't recognize. So that was exciting. Hey, Jeff, you made it back.
Hey, how are you? I just put up my favorite tweet I've ever done in my life of tweeting.
Did you write it or are you somebody else's?
It's 2 pictures. You can go to it now.
All right. Jeff Jarvis.
One of the picture, then the other picture.
One of the last people still using Twitter.
Twitter?
Here it is. Pictures.
Yeah, so just call
pictures. There's the flying monkeys with the Wizard of Oz. You've got the Wicked Witch of the West, Dorothy and her.
Click on the other photo.
Oh, wow.
And this is President Trump in Saudi Arabia. Is that the king that he's with there?
I think so.
And he's touching his orb.
The orb.
They have many rituals in Saudi Arabia that are odd.
I don't think this is a historic ritual. I think this is something new.
Okay. Is he controlling something?
I don't know.
Seeing the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
It's a Palantir.
There's going to be such great material this week for all the late night shows.
Wow. It's an interesting image. Thank you, Jeff. Also with us, Mark Millian from Bloomberg Business Week. I have to say that, bloomberg.com/tech.
Yes.
Great to see you again.
It's great to be here. I love the new studio.
I didn't realize it had been so long
at this point,
that you haven't seen this yet. Yeah, we've been here a few months.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you. And, of course, Nathan Olivarez-Giles.
Yep. Happy to be here.
Our one of our most recent hires. Always welcome.
Yeah.
So you guys are all kind of like serious journalists and all that kind of thing.
That's the rumor.
That's what I hear. So what do you want to start? You want to start with Google? Google I/O?
Well, Google I/O was kind of it should have been the biggest news of the week.
And it wasn't.
And it really kind of, I think, let a lot of people down. There was actually a lot of significant stuff. It just, they didn't really explain why the stuff mattered that good.
Well, and much of this stuff wasn't available yet.
Well, that's part of Google's problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Gizmodo piece by Michael Nunez was the best that said that you just can't see that. It's neater stuff, but you can't see it. You can't touch it.
Well, and you know, in Google's defense, that's a good point. I mean, you know, if you're making big strides in artificial intelligence, well, that just kind of slips away. If that's one of the things Sundar Pichai said, he says, we're moving from a mobile-first world. By the way, I'm just catching up with mobile-first.
Yeah. A lot of companies are.
We're moving from a mobile-first world to a AI-first world. And that's kind of interesting.
And well, that was kind of the sell last year for Google I/O. I
thought they said the same thing. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
One of the things that sticks out to me is if you look at the complaints before Sundar took over as CEO about a year ago now, a lot of it was that you go to Google I/O and you see all these like really fun, gee whiz kind of ideas that aren't necessarily fully realized, that are costing a lot of money. Sundar came in as CEO and kind of focused the company, got rid of a lot of that sort of thing. And this is really what the company's focused on. And so this is iterative stuff versus last year and this AI first idea. And it's good progress. Like the cloud TPU setup, these basically these computer chips that will help their machine learning systems.
The tensor processing units.
Yeah,
That's
grow
probably
faster.
the biggest news of the event. Right?
This is
exactly.
It has huge business implications.
Fascinating.
So
these are
news.
inexpensive. They look like almost like Raspberry Pis. They got 4 processors on them, big heavy duty GPU stuff. This is no Raspberry Pi, 180 teraflops.
Yeah. And so this could give them an advantage in their cloud services versus Amazon. This could give them an advantage in building out their AI.
They're also making it available to third parties as part of the Google Compute
that want to
Cloud.
build AI software.
So they've already open sourced TensorFlow, the software, and these are hardware devices designed to run TensorFlow at speed. And if you're impressed with 180 teraflops, that's really not the point, because the idea is they massively parallelize them.
Yeah.
And these racks are multi-petaflops per. This is 11.5 petaflops of machine learning in this rack.
And so what I think the missing piece really was Sundar or somebody else from Google saying, hey, here are the cool things we'll be able to build with this technology. Here's the stuff that you developers should come and help us build together. Regular people watching this, consumers and enthusiasts, here's what the future is going to look like. And here's the vision, right? So Sundar's Google doesn't do as good of a job at illustrating that vision in these keynotes as you know.
Let's face it, tech journalists would rather have Sergey Brin parachuting in with Google goggles on, even though
he
that
puts
was
on a better show.
It's a better show,
Well,
but
it's a better
equally
show.
meaningless.
Exactly.
Not even equally.
Maybe more so.
Much more meaningless.
Yeah,
right?
genuinely meaningless.
Yeah.
So it's less exciting, but this is probably one of the most significant things Google's announced.
And I think that's really right. It's enabling, right? You remember the name of that guy we talked about on the show for like an hour once? Was he Swiss or an Austrian AI genius?
Yeah.
I can't remember his name. It was a great name.
Either. Yeah.
Jürgen somebody. Yeah. But he talked about how the theory is so far ahead of the practice because of exactly what you just said, Nate, is that the power to do what they want to do isn't there. So their theory is way ahead. And this
Jürgen
catches
Schmidhuber.
up fast.
You're talking about Jürgen Schmidhuber.
Jürgen Schmidhuber, yes.
Oh, yeah. Not the best website I've ever seen.
See, I can't tell if this is like he hasn't updated his website since like 1996, or if it's like an ironic, like I want it to look this way, like in kind of like a hipster.
Click on what's new.
Yeah.
What's new? 12 May 2017. But I've also probably zoomed this in. That's what it's supposed to look like. But that's much better. I'm going to zoom back in because I can't read it that size.
But yeah, I mean, like here's this opportunity. Sell us on the future. Like, tell us where this is all going and why building this together with you is so much better than putting your energies as a developer or your dollars as a consumer towards Amazon.
Maybe
towards
not.
Facebook,
Maybe the
towards
smartest thing would for them just to shut up.
But see, that this is what Google doesn't do. Google doesn't shut up. They build
Apple
their
shuts
products
up.
Exactly. Google builds their products in front of you. Sometimes they fail. But they always are basically, you get to see how the sausage is made. Apple, they keep it secret, and then when they have a fully realized product, usually, unless it's like a beta like Siri or Apple Maps, then they'll bring it out to you. this is actually something that Mark and I have been talking about recently, just as friends, but also on our Buzzkill podcast. But it's like this is a
plug.
difference between those companies. Facebook,
Where's my plug buzzer?
Yeah, Facebook also, with their F8 developers conference, they're further behind on all this tech, but they showed some cute camera apps, and it got people excited.
I kind of respect a company like Google where they're not going to do the flash. They're just going to do the, and remember, it's a developers conference, and they're not going to try to impress.
Well, it's a developers conference, but these keynotes have been so filled with consumer news that the expectation these days is that you're going to have something flashy to show
I was
off.
a little disappointed we didn't see anything about Chromebook. We didn't see anything about a lot of consumer products. They didn't mention the Pixel phones. They didn't mention. They did mention Google Home and the Assistant now is on the iPhone, which is really a stealth introduction to Assistant to get iPhone users to understand, that Siri you've got, that's crap. This is what a real Assistant can do. I think hoping to woo some people over to Android, but at least to get them to buy the Google Home. The other thing that maybe it's just me, I keep mentioning this, and everybody's kind of ho-hum. I think the fact that you can make free calls to any phone in the U.S. and Canada on your Google Home is kind of impressive.
I think that amazes people our age.
Maybe it's because we're old.
Yeah. As we were saying when we were there, we're old enough, fellow panelists, we're old enough that our parents would yell at us to get off the phone.
Yeah, because it's long distance. It's costing a lot of money.
Right.
Yeah, see, to me, that's not impressive at all.
Because your cell phone does that.
Yeah.
And you have unlimited minutes now.
Exactly. It's like,
Plus,
Google,
they don't want to talk on the phone. Nobody wants to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
If I have to go to my phone to set up my speaker should know that my phone exists, and it should be able to basically be a speakerphone. Like, that doesn't seem crazy.
And Amazon
you millennials
now, the
don't
Alexa,
take.
you can call all the other Alexas.
You can only call other Echoes.
Yeah.
So in a couple of ways they scooped. I thought they sort of, scooped Amazon's big announcements of the last few weeks, because that was one announcement, is free Echo to Echo calling. Big deal.
Yep.
And they also have, by the way, some privacy issues because there's no way to block calls. So the fact that anybody who figures out how to get a hold of you on your Echo can bug the hell out of you in your house is a problem.
No thanks.
But then remember, Amazon has announced but not yet shipped this Home. What do they call it? The Show?
Yeah, the Show.
The Show has a screen on it. It's really just a tablet with an Echo built into it. But Google says, well, we didn't do that because you got screens all over the house. So how about if you just can cast your calendar or your TV or any other cast ready screen in your house? Yeah. And of course, most people have cast ready screens all over the place now.
Yeah.
So I thought that was impressive.
It does make me wonder, though, if, and this was something that Megan Maroney brought up actually, and we were talking about it earlier, is whether or not this puts pressure on Amazon to come out with a phone again, because Google has its apps on the iPhone, and they, of course, have Android. But basically, if you're using an iOS device or an Android device, they have a presence on your phone. And the reason why this might be a little bit of a jump ahead for them in this smart speaker phone calling thing is because they have access to your phone in ways that Amazon doesn't yet.
Well, and that's the other thing Google has to kind of think about is the creepy line, right, Jeff? I mean, every time they announce something, there are going to be a group of people, privacy advocates, who say, "Oh, hell no."
Yeah.
I'm not putting that
especially in Europe.
Yeah.
Right.
The Google Lens is kind of funny. They announced this is an AI capability that reminds you a lot of Google Goggles, and Amazon's Fire Phone.
7 years ago.
Right. But I asked somebody at Google who was involved in integrating this into search and photos. She said, well, but this is AI. Goggles was kind of pre-populated. We had to teach it. This is learning all the time. So, for instance, I love this. They take a picture of a flower. This happens to me all the time. What is that flower? And it will actually say, oh, that's a milk and wine lily. And it will even give you nearby florists. You can order it and buy it.
That is cool.
That's a business proposition for Google, but I think that's cool. If you have barcodes on the back of your router, it will automatically configure, connect to it by just taking a picture of it. It can read it. And my favorite one was they showed, you using your phone, and I'm not sure what app this is. Maybe it's just the camera app because that has Lens built into it. You turn on Lens, and then you point at different storefronts, and it'll tell you what the star rating is, how much it costs. You can make a reservation. How many?
So this is AR beyond what Facebook can do because Google has all that data.
Well, and I know Apple at some point. Apple's going to announce AR. this seems to me exactly what Apple might announce in the fall, and I think they've scooped them a little bit. Here's an example of, they took a picture of a marquee at one of my favorite clubs in San Francisco, Bimbo's 365 Club. Of the Stone Foxes are playing May 17th. So the lens is smart enough to know that that's a Stone Foxes, offers you Stone Foxes music, offers to add that to your calendar, which is pretty impressive, and shows you where you can buy tickets to that, all from taking a picture of the marquee. Those things seem like the kinds of things that would be useful over and above what goggles could
It's
be.
an entirely new user interface with the computer. They had typing, and they have conversation, and now they have sight.
And yet, you do know that most people will never even know that exists in the phone.
Yeah, and does it even work outside of San Francisco and New York? I wonder.
Well, that's a good question. I mean, that's the part of the problem with these keynotes is you don't know until you try it. And none of this is available yet.
You know, not many other companies have, to Jeff's point, this data repository that Google has. I mean, basically, if their systems are sophisticated enough and can learn quick enough, and maybe someday even teach themselves, all the sort of images that people upload when they're at a place and they're tagging them and they're uploading them to Google Maps, or they're reviewing them, or they're using them on Google Image Search, all of that should be feeding data to say, hey, yeah, that small diner in Tucson, it might not be as popular as the place in San Francisco, but a couple dozen people have been there, and here are some photos, and like, let's put this together and help this camera recognize it if ever someone is there, right? So
Tess Townsend on Recode argues that this is Google's future, that this is the Google Lens is an example of device-independent computing, artificial intelligence. Yeah. And she said, and I think she's probably, I think there's something to be said for this, even though this is nothing new, it tells us something about where Google's going, and that is part of a less device-centric and more kind of user-centric focus. I like that idea, and I think that's, I mean, you still need a device. You still need a camera.
Yeah, well, I think to a certain extent, Google's never cared about what device you use.
This is a new, this is search, right?
Stuff.
Isn't this a new, so instead of typing in a search, you just, this is a new way of search, and that's Google's core business, is search.
And it pulls out all of Google's data, and it gathers more signals about the world. It understands more about the world. It's utilitarian. I mean, it's that or sharks swimming around your cereal bowl, which is a more useful form of
that's a Magic Leap demo. Yeah. I agree with you. I think that maybe this will all come into our lives in a more subtle fashion. And yes, it's not exciting when Google does a keynote about all these incremental improvements, but if, by the way, none of these are available. We don't even know what they're going to be like, whether they'll live up to their promise, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, the other thing they showed was going into the Home Depot and getting right to that widget you need.
Finally, a use for Tango.
It's aware of Tango. If you add Tango into, so you have this presence about your world that Google can add value to your world. That's a big deal.
Yeah, Tango's
but I
always
said that about Wave too.
Yeah, right. Tango's always bothered me because it never felt like a very interesting or consumer-friendly technology. The first Tango devices were big old tablets.
Yep.
And now I guess they're going to start making Tango phones that are more normal. I think they showed an LG phone that had Tango enabled.
Yeah, well, they still have like multiple cameras. It's still a little bulkier than the average phone. But yep.
So I was unclear in the demo. They showed kind of two sides of it. They showed the gathering of data part where the computer is learning all these information points. Who does that? Does the storekeeper do that?
Definitely not. Like, they've tried to do these in-store mapping things forever, and they'll get like one or two retail partners that's willing to go through it in all their stores, while the other retailers are like, we're just trying to stay alive.
And by the way, you can't do it just once. You got to do it every week because stuff moves around and changes, right? So what are they going to drive a little Tango cart around and periodically map the store? Then they showed the consumer-facing side, which is kind of neat. It's like Google Maps inside a store. You could say, where's the screwdrivers? But I think most stores, that's why Home Depot has a guy there in a wearing a tool belt, so he could say, yeah, it's on aisle 3. I don't know if that's not working yet. I think maybe it's solving a problem that doesn't exist yet. Tango's always felt to me like a technology in search of a
Yeah, but you add it together with that data-backed AR, the image. Google will constantly know where you are, be able to take you to things, is aware of your surroundings. You can then that provides the context. Then you can ask questions about your surroundings. Which is the best widget? What did other people say about this omelet?
Right.
All those things start to come out because it is aware of context. Google is always looking for context so it can anticipate your needs. Now it will have more context.
Here's what I think is going to happen. I think we don't really care about what they announce. Consumers, if we don't, consumers even less.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, because what is going to happen almost without anybody noticing it is the assistant's going to get better and better. These technologies are going to surface just because in the natural course of using your camera, it'll say, oh, you want to know what that flower is? And what we will, in a few years, will happen is we'll look back and go, wow, we've really made considerable progress. Look at speech recognition. Their error rate is now under 5%. It was 8.5%.
That's better than I do at my age.
Yeah. Well, they in fact said that. It's better than humans.
No, they said that about the image recognition.
Oh, image recognition is better. I don't know how that could be, but
I don't understand that at all, yeah.
So, in a way, that's why I think Google should shut up. Because by announcing this, it's like, okay, 5%, nice. It's not inspiring or exciting, but if they just shut up and let it get better and better and better, and put it on Apple, give them a Google Assistant, and they'll Apple users start to go, this assistant really, does a pretty good job, that gradually people will start putting homes in their houses. I think that gradual is almost the best way to do this. Just surprise people. Surprise me. Maybe.
Well, plus you have less problems of scaring regulators with, oh my God, they're taking over the world.
Well, that's the big risk.
Well, that's a genuine concern, because if Google's approach is going to work here, it's going to rely on people uploading and sharing basically all of their photos. Essentially, every time you use Google Lens, you're sending that photo, that imagery, that video, whatever, to Google, and that will leave a trail. And, that is a repository of all of the things you've been looking at through your phone being sent to Google. Now, it'll help offer that context in a store, but it also,
is it bad, do you think, or do you think that's a good thing?
It's a privacy trade-off, and I think it's a question that we all need to ask ourselves. Yeah. But it could be a bad thing.
Right. There is a risk, of course, that because Apple does such a better job marketing, that everybody will. I think people assume Siri is better than it is. Siri is terrible. Don't you think?
I think people assume the opposite. It is terrible, but
don't you swear at it?
They're all pretty bad. Like, being real about it, they're all very bad right now. But I think that's because the pop culture idea of what AI should be.
They're not HAL 9000.
Exactly. They're not the Star Trek computer yet. They're not HAL 9000, whatever. But, I think they're where they're supposed to be at this point, given the technology that AI is at.
That's almost why I think just shut up, and it'll gradually sneak up on us that this is suddenly, wow, I'm talking to Scarlett Johansson in my phone, and she's got a lot.
But the only way it's going to improve is if people continue using the bad product teach it so that it gets better and better. That's why they need to keep it around.
And this is where Google has a huge advantage, because they have this virtuous circle where people use it and it feeds into it and it gets better. And you're right, they do need to get people to keep using it.
Well, and for Google, even if people aren't using Lens, even if people aren't talking through text and Allo, they're still using Google Search. They're still using Google Image Search.
I think they're getting signals no matter what.
They're still using all these other products, right? And all of those things inform their AI, and they're able to tie all of that stuff together. So yeah, I mean, they're gonna this company is set up and built for this problem.
Don't you think
he with the most signals wins?
Don't you think people are starting to realize that photos is kind of remarkable? That maybe it's just me, but I just put everything into photos now, and I don't have to ever worry about categorizing it or anything. It just knows.
And you're helping to feed their image recognition and all of that stuff.
And they offer it for free. I think it's a compelling offering. It's free backup of your photos, automatic categorization. Now that you can make books kind of automatically without any effort on your part, which is kind of the holy grail.
The new shared libraries sounds really cool. I haven't tried it yet, but
so they're giving us little bits of candy. They're giving us little, Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs, leading us into these technologies in I think an appropriate way to get people to use it more and more, so they can get better and better.
Yeah, and photos, interestingly enough, is a big advantage for Facebook, because online, the biggest place where most people upload photos is Facebook, even more so than Flickr, even more so than Google Photos.
You're right, but they've never provided that kind of functionality where you can organize your family stuff and see all the photos of your kids and all that. They don't have that layer, the meta layer.
They don't have that layer, but they have the facial recognition layer. They have the location recognition
the social layer, certainly.
Do you think that they're working as hard as Google on AI?
I think they're maybe throwing as much money and resources at it, but they're so far behind because they don't have as many signals.
It's almost as if Google knew 10 years ago that this, I mean, do you think they kind of knew this was the end game?
I think Google,
they're pretty forward thinking.
I think Google was just trying to get all the data it could, and then it would figure out what to do with it later.
Yeah.
I mean, Google has been unabashedly
organizing the what was it, Jeff? Organizing the world's data,
world's knowledge, and making it accessible.
And making it accessible. That was from day one their mission statement. Maybe they didn't know, but I think we even in 1975, we knew that the key to artificial intelligence was
data.
Data was training.
Well, I remember what's his name? The brilliant Russian investor who does the physics prize and the computer prize. Yuri Milner. So Yuri, when he started investing in Facebook and Twitter long ago, he said it was all because AI is coming and they have data.
Yeah, big data. But nobody's done a better job, I think, of capturing it and capitalizing on than Google. I'm waiting to see Apple and Microsoft and Facebook and Amazon do the same. And it seems as if Google's got the handle on this right now.
Well, and just Google has never. Google has been one of the worst companies when it comes to respecting consumer privacy.
Have they?
Yeah. But that's allowed them to build that repository
Facebook is
more
clearly the worst company.
Facebook gets a lot more crap.
Facebook might care less and they might make more mistakes, but
feels like Google is very
upfront. Less data.
Feels
Google
like Google
takes more.
They take everything, but they tell you what they take in dashboard.
And you get value for
it. They all tell you in places where nobody looks. Most people don't go to dashboard. Most people don't go to my account. Most people don't go into their user settings that way. So they're as transparent.
Those are the two companies that default to we're going to take and keep everything.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whereas Apple and Amazon are somewhere on the other end of the spectrum.
But I think in the long run, that's going to bite them in the butt because
it is.
The companies
Apple's never really
data,
had that data. They've
been careful not to
so
collect
far behind.
It.
Well, because they never had it, so they had to make that a positive.
I think Google does it well, and maybe I'm prejudiced, but I think Google does it exactly right. They collect as much as they can, but they tell you they do. I mean, admittedly, people don't care and look, but they give you all that. They don't hide it, and they even encourage you go review your settings, go review your, and they say in their terms of service, I think in fairly clear English, what they're doing. And if you're gonna win in AI, you gotta collect that data, don't you?
Oh yeah, you gotta have it. Yep.
I'll tell you what you do see when you think of Facebook and Google is scale. Wow. Sundar Pichai gave out some numbers. 2 billion monthly active Android devices. 2 billion.
That's how many people use Facebook.
Well, it's not quite 2 billion, but it's roughly, same order of magnitude,
same
right?
Ballpark.
That's Microsoft has 1.5 billion Windows machines. So, I mean,
yet
they don't collect that
both companies are personal services companies. We in media still treat everybody the same. We give them the same single product, and Google and Facebook scale at a personal level. That's even more amazing than me.
Yeah. And it's big growth from a year ago, where they had 1.4 billion September 2015. 800 million monthly active users on Google Drive. Google Photos, 500 million monthly active users.
I do wonder, though, how many of those 2 billion Android devices are running the latest OS?
None of them. Okay. Only people are the Pixel owners, the million Pixel owners. That's probably about it.
It kind of hurts to see all this cool new stuff from Google every year at I.O., and so few people have access to it. Because a lot of it usually comes out for the latest version of Android. And
Android O looks really cool, even though people won't be able to use it for another couple
Let's
of years.
talk about it. I know Jeff installed it immediately.
I've got it.
And Jason Howell and I didn't, but let's talk about it in just a second. You can. It's a public beta now, and you can install it if you have probably have to have a Google phone, a Nexus or a Pixel. I know you can install it with Pixels.
Can we place our bets on what the O is going to be?
Yeah, let's think about it, and when we come back, I want to take a break. Mark Millian is here from Bloomberg Business Week, Bloomberg.com/tech. If you have any questions about the Bloomberg Terminal, he knows how to operate it.
Barely.
It looks like it's kind of complicated.
It can do a lot of stuff.
It's for traders.
Traders love it.
Yeah, the traders love it. At Mark Millian on Twitter. Nathan Olivarez-Giles, who I think you should thank your mom and dad because Nate OG is the best Twitter handle ever.
Yeah, that actually came from an elementary school teacher who couldn't say my last name. I don't think my parents were anticipating that OG would be. Yeah,
original gangsta. Is that right? Is that what that means?
Yeah.
Yes. You got it, Leo.
It's true.
For shizzle.
My street reputation precedes me. No doubt.
He's the original gangsta, and we're proud to say our newest reporter, our newest journalist here. In fact, I'm working on Nate to do a car show. That's my new.
We were just actually. I was talking with Mark about it on the drive up.
You guys do a podcast together called Buzzkill.
Yep.
Which is
with Brian Chen from the New York Times as well.
Brian X, isn't it? Don't you have to say the X if you say
Brian X Chen?
Brian X Chen, because that's special. Because there are other Brian Chens, but he's the only Brian X.
He's Brian
X.
X.
The only X.
And what do you guys do on that show? I know you have the buzzer.
Yes, we try to keep it under 30 minutes to save people's time.
What a foolish idea. We've already gone past 30 minutes here.
Foolish. What's the difference than what we do?
No stamina.
No stamina.
We each pick a couple topics in advance. We have a pool of topics, and then over the course of the show, whenever any of us gets bored with one of the topics, you can hit a buzzer, and that forces the conversation to move on to the next topic.
So basically, anytime we talk about sports, Brian just hits the buzzer pretty quick because
no sport ball on this show.
We're both soccer nerds, but
soccer, really?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about
Manchester
basketball
United.
too.
What?
Barcelona
FC.
Yeah.
Last game of the season.
Andreu is from Barcelona. He's usually wearing his Barcelona FC shirt. Or are you not Barcelona? There's two clubs in Barcelona, aren't there? Oh, he's the other one. Shocking. Jeff Jarvis is also here from the City University, New York, buzzmachine.com. We're going to continue talking. Let's talk about O in a second and your picks for what dessert O stands for. Our show today brought to you by Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans, the best mortgage lender in the country because they're high-tech, because they're transparent, because they do a great job, because they're number one in customer satisfaction. From J.D. Power, year after year after year, both in loan origination and servicing. You got to love Quicken Loans. And now the geek in me loves them even more because they've created an entirely online mortgage process that happens fast because it's computers. Last time we bought a house, Lisa and I, 3 years ago, it took us a month, literally, from one of the big banks. You know the name. They're the... Just like we gave them the normal stuff, and they said, well, you got any more? What else? And they kept asking for week after week. The more we went on vacation, we were faxing from a cruise ship. We were faxing this bank information before we got our mortgage. It was crazy. Next time, Rocket Mortgage, you can do it all right there at the open house. Secure, trustworthy. They even give you, buttons to choose the term and the rate of your loan. Submit all the paperwork you need with a touch of a button. I mean, including pay stubs and check balance, everything, checking statements, everything you need. You just do right there. And because it's computers, they customize it just for you, and then they turn around literally, not in months, weeks, not days, minutes. Not hours, minutes. Rocket Mortgage. Skip the bank, skip the waiting, go completely online. QuickenLoans.com/twit2. Get that address right, if you will, because that way they'll know you heard it here and not somewhere else. QuickenLoans.com/twit2. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states and MLSConsumerAccess.org, number 3030. Rocket Mortgage from Quicken Loans. QuickenLoans.com/twit2. Do you have sponsors on the Buzzkill?
We have no sponsors.
No one would pay to be involved in that.
we get some like 800 listeners a week, which
nice.
I think we're all kind of surprised.
Let's get it bigger. What's the website?
Well, we don't have.
See, here's
a website,
the problem
actually.
right there.
We're millennials, so we don't have a website. But
it actually comes on cassettes.
Oh, it's on SoundCloud.
it's on SoundCloud.
That's where the kids. That's where the kids go.
It's on iTunes. It's on every podcast.
Search for
Pocket
Buzzkill.
Casts. It's on Google Play,
Overcast.
Stitcher, Overcast.
I guess you're right. You don't really need a website anymore, do you?
Just go to whatever podcast, and if it's not on your podcast app, tweet us and we'll make it happen.
I think of all the money I wasted over the years on websites.
I thought Squarespace was hooking you up.
No. We run our own site. It's Drupal backend. It's a headless Drupal running Node.js. It's on Heroku. We use Redis. It's modern. It cost me $6,000 a month, $250,000 to design.
But
but it's modern.
But aren't you? I'm actually
I
working
know.
on
You're
some
flabbergasted,
personal stuff,
aren't you?
And I'm going with WordPress. I'm going on some personal stuff.
They're a sponsor.
We might have a Buzzkill website eventually. I actually bought a URL recently, and we're going to do it on WordPress.
WordPress is really good for podcasters, actually.
Yeah.
They have a podcast plugins.
Yeah.
So I took a picture. I was at Google I.O. in the press area, and I took a picture. I don't know if this is indicative of anything, of a big basket of Oreo cookies.
I so hope Android O is called Oreo. I love Oreos.
Who doesn't? But do you have Oreos in Barcelona? Of course. What do you think we are, backward peasants? He says, of course. Okay, see, because it has to be international. It can't be, and that's part of the problem. You know, nougat was sort of international, but I think Americans don't really know what nougat is.
Well, if you're like a hardcore Snickers person, then you know it's inside of Snickers. But that's about it, right? And I like what there's 4 of those people. Like,
but remember, they named it Kit Kat, and they got some flack for using a brand name. So maybe Oreos, I don't know. Maybe they have to make a deal with Nabisco or something. I don't know.
they do.
Yeah, they do have to work at a trademark license.
Yeah, because they don't own it.
Hey, they did it with Kit Kat. They can do it with Oreo.
What about orange? Somebody said it should be orange. There were also oranges at the event.
Orange Julius.
Oh, the healthy?
I love.
I don't
Orange
think
Julius.
orange is a dessert. Orange Julius.
Orange Julius
orange
are
is
great. Orange slices are the healthy things they give out to kids after soccer games, right? It could be orange slices.
Orange slice. Ooh, I like it. Oatmeal cookie? No. I think it's going to be. I like Oreo. Remember, though, we thought it would be Nutella for N, and it wasn't.
We did. You know, let's be real. It's going to be Ozark pudding. Everybody loves. Ozark
Who doesn't
pudding.
love?
It's everyone's favorite nut cake, basically.
So did you guys
Orange
install
orange
sherbet?
Sherbet, yeah, not bad.
Orange is too political because of the Dutch.
And the president.
Emails to Jeff Jarvis. Don't bother me. I got enough email about Jeff. How about, so Jeff has tried it. Have you installed O? I didn't install O on my Pixel. There are a few interesting things about O, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, wait, I didn't install it on this phone, but I've already got it. I just.
Oh, you must have pushed that button.
Are you on a beta channel or something?
Yes.
Maybe I was in beta.
If you go to android.com/beta or whatever it is, they'll show you the compatible phones, and then there's a button that you push that says, okay, sign me up. And then at that point, you get an over-the-air update.
What's your favorite feature, Jeff?
That's the problem. I don't even know what features are on it. It doesn't onboard you well,
So you see, here it is. How does the Android O beta program work? So there it is. Those are the 2 phones I own that are compatible, both Google Pixels. So if I were to enroll device, then I would get an over-the-air.
You don't have any Nexus devices, or did you give them away when you got Pixels?
Actually, I do.
Or?
I don't know why it didn't show those. Maybe I have a Nexus 6.
Okay.
6P. Maybe I gave away the 6P. I might have given away the 6P. So I kept the 6.
By the way, looking at the Phosbytes did this list of O desserts for the O.
Yeah.
There's not an obvious O.
I know. I think Google wasn't thinking about this. What is 15 iterations ago?
Oli Bowl didn't jump out to you, Jeff? You're not a big Oli Bowl guy?
No.
You're missing out.
That's a Dutch dessert?
Yeah, it's good.
Have you had it?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's like, it's kind of like, it's like fried and powdered sugar and stuff.
It's spelled so strangely that I can't imagine it would be a winner.
I was thinking tapioca.
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 That's a bit of a stretch.
These do look good. They look like beignets, kind of.
They love to fry things there.
And
and
they love to fry
lightly
things
dusted
there.
with sugar to make them extra healthy. So
when I went there for meetings of newspaper, their honor to you is to have a little beer in the afternoon, and then they bring out the bitterballen. And it's just fried stuff, just a whole bunch of fried stuff, which makes me happy.
How does it happen that we in America are overweight and dying at younger and younger ages, but that people in Holland are eating fried food like there's no tomorrow and they're healthy? What did we do wrong?
I don't know. They ride their bikes.
Yeah, they ride their bikes everywhere. So smart reply, that's not an O thing. That's just in Gmail where it answers.
So I want to quiz these guys. I said this on Twig the other day. So have you used Smart Reply, and do you feel guilty when you do?
Anything to make my email faster, I don't care. I use it.
I use it in Inbox. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So now it's in Inbox now, but it'll be part of your regular Gmail soon.
I usually ignore it. I almost never use it.
They didn't show the most felicitous example on the stage. It said it was a thing. You want to go see whoever it is, the chain smokers on Saturdays or Sunday, which day? And then the three responses were Saturday.
No, and no.
No, there was Saturday. I don't care. Saturday, I don't care what day, and whatever. It wasn't the most useful.
Even Google, which arguably has one of the best AI,
and that was the example they chose.
Is still bad.
Yeah.
My argument is that Google already knew you were busy on Sunday.
Maybe.
It was looking at your calendar.
It could. We were talking about notification dots. So this is something.
That's what I have. Yeah.
The iPhone has had notification dots since it started. These are little badges that tell you you've got something.
And if you press on them,
if you press on
like
it,
3D Touch,
up.
You'll get a new sub menu.
Right.
Which
so you could argue because Google has had long press for a while, right? Or that came out in N.
Yeah, but
there's Jeff showing it.
I don't know if you can't see it.
Not on the app icon like this.
I kind of like this. I would use that.
Do you use it on your iPhone?
No. Because
no.
3D Touch is too weird on the iPhone. It's too finicky.
Because it gives you the feedback and the
it's just finicky. It's like, do I press hard? Do I press light? Do I just touch and hold?
Oh, you got to start soft and then you go hard. I use it all the time. It's great.
You like it?
Yeah. I like the instead of double tapping the home button to switch apps, you can press from the left side of the screen.
Oh yeah, that is nice
to get to the next app.
It never works. It never does that for me unless I don't want it to do it, and then it does it. Drives me nuts. Okay, so you like it.
I like it.
I think iPhone users generally like 3D Touch. I feel like it's. To me, this basically is the same, but it's long press, right? Because you can't press harder or softer.
Yep.
And I think that makes more sense. Long press pops up an extra menu of context-sensitive things. I don't know. That just makes sense to me. But see, Google can do that because they don't have the jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. The iPhone has the jiggle, jiggle, jiggle.
Which I think is more confusing because then you've got like two actions that are roughly the same.
That's why I get confused. So if you can't press. If you put your finger on an icon on the iPhone and hold it for a while, the icon goes like this, and you can delete it or move it. You have to do that to delete or move it. On Google, you just drag it around. It doesn't matter. I don't know.
Although I feel like one of the reasons why maybe Google doesn't have the same sort of 3D Touch thing is because they're going to have to roll this operating system out to devices that won't have that extra
you can't count on that
display,
hardware.
Right?
That's right. You can't count on that hardware.
But if we ever get to a point where we have like no bezels, no buttons, you're going to want.
That's the advantage Apple has. They make all the hardware. They know their phones can have that capability. Although iPhone 6s don't, but they know that they can dictate the hardware platform in a way Google can. Notification dots is an example of the most incremental, kind of not very exciting improvement. So what else is in O?
Well, I mean, that's kind of where Android's been the last few years.
Faster boot time.
It's a really good operating system, and they're just iterating and making it better.
We're at peak operating system.
Like it works and
we're peak smartphone.
It looks good.
Yeah.
What's the installed base for iOS now?
I can ask the Google.
I should have done that. Okay, Google. How many iOS users are there?
I think we
Android holds the largest number of installed base devices, with 1.9 billion in use in 2014, compared with 682 million iOS, macOS installed base.
That's a big difference.
This is in 2014.
Well, they don't
That's
have
true,
the
it's old.
newest.
So here's the question. Is it still the case that developers do iOS first, or is that starting to wear off now?
I think that's still the case. Because you know why?
Still the case.
It's money. The iOS users are more. The problem with Android is that 2 billion number, as we said at the very beginning, is such a large number of people who own $50 phones who never buy apps that you can't really use that as informative.
Yeah, one of the things I was looking for in the I/O keynote, which I never saw, was Google coming out and saying, "Hey, Play's kicking ass, and here's how much money developers made, and we paid out to developers."
Yeah,
this
Apple
year.
tells you that very
Apple
quickly.
will do that at I/O.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for that at WWDC. I was waiting for that at I/O, and it never came.
Apple, on the other hand, kind of does overstate the strength of the App Store economy. They have a new page touting, and I'm sure that this is really for the U.S. government, for the benefit of, it's their 2 million page, where it's apple.com/job creation. 2 million U.S. jobs and counting, which sounds good, right? Until you look at the breakdown, which is 80,000 Apple employees. That includes retail. Then suppliers, 450,000.
However many people work at UPS and FedEx to deliver the
Right.
iPhones.
Of the 2 million, more than 3/4 they attribute to the App Store ecosystem.
What?
So is that like development?
That's like some guy writing a calculator app who's making diddly doo.
Oh, that's BS.
Well, but they
That's
created
that's
2 million
Trump's
jobs.
figuring.
Well,
Jeez.
it's clearly for the benefit of the Trump administration, so that and see we're creating jobs.
I mean, they were doing this before, but it just feels like a page that was designed by lobbyists.
Yeah, Alaska, 74 Apple employees, 11 suppliers, but 1,000 App Store ecosystem jobs.
Yes.
We're making it safe to work in Alaska again. So, anyway, I don't know how I got into this. I'm sorry. Let's see. Dippin' Dots. What else for Android O? Dippin' Dots. Can we go back and rename Android D? What was D? Donut. Let's call it Dippin' Dots. They announced a VR headset that is standalone. They didn't announce a price or availability. They did say that it will be made by at least HTC, who makes the Vive, and Lenovo, who makes the Motorola phones. To me, this is an education play, because I don't Daydream, if you've got a smartphone, is cheap, and you just plop your smartphone in. But they pitch Daydream at schools, but what they don't mention is, and each and every one of you has to have an $800 phone.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, schools that would like to use there's some very nice curriculum. There's what do they call it? Google Expeditions, where you can travel the world. There's some great Daydream curriculum, but a school can't assume that every kid's going to have a smartphone, let alone
tiny market.
So I don't think there's a big market, but I think they figure, well, we can count on 4 or 5 units to many schools in the country, so we can have a little Google.
Museums too.
Museums, sure.
Well, it's also just kind of.
Although, do you want people walking around blind in your museum?
If you're going to compete in VR, whatever its future looks like, whether it's at home or in schools or in museums or whatever, you're going to have a wireless headset, because Oculus is working on it. Everyone who's.
But Oculus doesn't have it. HTC doesn't have it. I mean,
Oculus had a running
Microsoft
demo.
doesn't have it.
Oculus had a running demo at some of their previous developer conferences. So it isn't on sale yet.
Right.
But they actually showed one you could try out at Google I/O. They just said, well, it exists and we have the technology and we're working with hardware partners, but we're not going to show you what it looks like, and you're not going to get to try one out yet. So,
But we got it. Honest.
Like it wasn't a surprise at all that they announced it. It was
sounds like Google's
what they
a little
had
closer.
to do.
But I don't think it's a big market.
No.
Right.
No.
It's not end users. I think end users almost all have a smartphone that's Daydream capable. The S8 will be Daydream capable. LG is going to make Daydream capable. Its next generation flagship. And if you don't have Daydream, if you have Samsung, you can use the Gear VR. I don't know. Maybe there's a market. I don't see. I'm still skeptical about VR in general. I'm much more excited about AR.
Mm-hmm.
What else about O? Nothing else.
Well, one of the cool things about the headset was that the sensors for this headset are built into the headset. So unlike what Oculus is doing or what HTC is doing with their wireless headset
you have
projects,
to have a camera out there.
Exactly. You don't need the sensors in your living room. So
I have in my living room.
That might make it more convenient.
2 Vive sensors nailed to the wall. Right?
Yeah.
Which room?
Well, where else? The VR room.
Oh no.
Well, it's not.
Oh no.
It's a game room, but the problem with Vive is you need a lot of room. You need like a 6x9 space that's cleared. Yeah. So we have to shove those chairs out of the way, and it's I brought it in here. It's here.
Yeah.
I didn't bring and I still have them hanging on the wall though, just in case. Anything else about Google I/O we want to talk about before we move on to other?
Well, I didn't know. So I saw a story, but I don't know if this was Google I/O or not, but I just saw this, that they redesigned emojis. Did you see that one? Bottom of the Google section.
Oh yeah, that's part of Android O, and they updated. So they had like
that's what I
their smiley face was a little blob basically, and now in O, their smiley face will be a circular, kind of more Apple-like, face. So it won't.
I think the burrito. The burrito is much. Here's the burrito. I think the burrito is now wrapped in foil.
Oh, that's a good.
It has
burrito.
delicious
nice,
toppings.
And cheese in there.
That is a better burrito.
Who is this a Klingon? Who's this?
It's like a Lord of the Rings.
It's L'Oreal, Loth L'Oreal, or whatever her name is. I don't know. I'm making up names as I go along.
They have a breastfeeding one now.
They do.
This was controversial. I remember we talked to the emoji guy from the Unicode emoji committee, and he said initially we wanted the breastfeeding emoji to be gender neutral. And the only way they could think of to do that was cutting the head off. So you had a headless person feeding a baby. Didn't look good.
Well, but wait. That makes no sense, Leo.
I am not going to wade into this one at all. But I have been told that men can breastfeed.
Do it.
Some men.
Let's talk about the panda emoji.
Well, I think the breastfeeding emoji now does have a female head on it.
Well, yeah.
What's going on here? What do you think? What's
that's the massage emoji. That one's been around for quite a while.
Oh, I see. You kids today, you know this stuff. Is she making fried egg?
Yep, she's cooking.
It's kind of sticky, holding there right in the pan while she holds it up.
They also animated them a lot down below in the story.
Oh, there's some animated emojis?
Yeah, nice ones.
What does it say about the world that we're worried about this?
I know.
But, Apple got a lot of press for iOS 9 and the redesigned emojis. In fact, the scandalously sexy dancing lady and the peach.
Yeah.
Well, the peach went back and forth.
Peach was some controversy.
There was whoa, man. I mean, is that me? Am I finally having acid flashbacks after? Because I've been waiting. Whoa, dude, they're just disappearing. And is that the animation or is that just me?
So the previous one is the old style, and the new ones are the.
Oh, it's the change.
Yeah.
Oh, I get it. Yeah, these are more streamlined. So the gorilla doesn't look like it needs a haircut anymore. It looks like more of a
clean cut gorilla.
Clean cut gorilla.
Not that just rolled out of the bed gorilla.
Yeah, bedhead gorilla. You don't want a bedhead gorilla. Bye blobs. Hello, emotive.
They're the
squishy
they're the
circles.
blobs I was telling you guys about. Those are gone. I kind of like the blobs. They were unique. Nobody else. No other operating system.
Oh, I didn't like them. That's right. Google, they looked like the tip of your thumb. They looked like you painted a face on the tip of your thumb. I hated those. So then they're
that really bad candy.
Yeah, they're now back to the traditional round.
Yeah.
You didn't mind those?
No.
Do you ever paint a face on the tip of your thumb? Do a little
when
puppet
I was like
show?
in kindergarten, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Miss Senior Wences. Wow, they spent a lot of time on this blog post.
What thumb puppet traumatic experience did you have that makes you hate the blob so much?
I don't like it.
What's
It looks
the backstory,
It's
Leo?
truncated.
Dad, you're scaring
It's like
me.
you chopped. Oh, look, reusable components.
Oh.
Which is something that we've seen in some iMessage apps, actually.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Wow, you're paying way too much attention to this. We've shared many of the eye and mouth components between expression and animal emoji.
Yeah.
So
one of our good friends, both Mark and I, makes a iMessage app that allows you to put on sunglasses and hats and all sorts of
neat.
stuff. So
what's that called?
Sticker Pals?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You told me about that.
Yeah, Phil Ryu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Phil.
Yeah, he's a huge fan of yours.
Oh, we should have him on.
Yeah, well,
He did the original Camera Plus.
Yeah, I did Camera Plus,
Yeah.
and his team's also
Clear,
working on HUD.
that
Clear.
to-do list. I loved that.
And they're working on Heads Up right now.
So does he develop? He only iOS, right? I don't think he does any Android stuff.
Heads Up is on Android now.
Okay.
But
It was a different team that worked on it.
was it a different team? Okay.
They don't like to mix Android and iOS types. They don't get along.
Don't cross the stream.
They'll cross the stream.
Yes.
Oh, here's the breastfeeding emoji. Yeah, that's nice. See, that's a lady. Nice
Yeah.
baby. She's got a peaceful smile. Then there's the hedgehog, the zombie, the exploding head, the vampire.
I like that one. Exploding head.
Yeah, that's you. I think they used you as the model
Hey,
for that.
hey.
That's a Jarvis rant emoji. All right. This is for some reason a Medium post. You saw the New York Times article. Ev Williams says the internet's all screwed up, but he's going to save it.
Well, it's also his fault that it's screwed up. I say that with all love and respect for Ev. But I, when he started Medium, I said that it was his penance for giving us Twitter and Blogger, and I think that's what he's saying there.
The internet is broken. Ev is trying to salvage it. And
It's the question we've always asked. You give people more communication.
Yeah.
What good or bad comes from that? That's really what
Ev
he's
Williams,
dealing
of course, founded Blogger, sold that to Google, stayed for a few years. Then he founded something called Odeo, which was a little remembered, much beloved, at least by me, podcast directory.
Imagine how big that'd be today.
Odeo flopped because iTunes killed it. Ev famously gave the money back to the investors, which I think was a very good move.
I remember that.
And one of his colleagues had this idea for a text. The reason I know this, I was just going back and listening to our interview with Ev back in 2007 when Twitter had just come out. And was it Jack or I can't remember.
Jack came up with the idea.
Was it Jack? Jack Dorsey had this idea for something TWTTR. And Ev said, well, let's try it. And it was an Odeo, Obvious was the name of his company, Odeo production. And lo and behold, 10 years later, Twitter is all that. But Ev says, I think the internet is broken. He's believed this for a few years, actually, but things are getting worse, according to the Times. And it's a lot more obvious, get it, to a lot of people that it's broken. Why does he see? He says it's broken because people are using Facebook to show suicides, beatings, and murder in real time. Twitter is a hive of trolling and abuse. Fake news, whether created for ideology or profit, runs rampant. 4 out of 10 adult internet users told the Pew survey they've been harassed online. I thought, quote, I thought once everybody could speak freely and exchange information and ideas, the world is automatically going to be a better place. We all thought that, didn't he?
Yep,
Didn't we?
Yep.
I was wrong about that, says Ev Williams. So what's he doing to fix it? Medium?
Well, he's trying to figure out the business model still. But I was thinking about this. The counterintuitive business model, he's trying to find a membership structure and all that. I actually think that the writers should pay. That'll get me in trouble.
There you go.
Whoa. Every writer I know is broke.
I know.
That's a business
But
model.
I would pay to be in an environment that was guaranteed to be quality. And now that means you can fire me. That means, no, sorry, you're not let in. I'm going to judge who gets in.
Well, there are blog platforms, paid blog platforms like that. And what makes Medium unique? Why is Medium different than WordPress or Squarespace or some other blogging platform?
The social angle added.
Well, you get WordPress.com has a very active front page social community.
Well,
Much
but
like
not the same way. I mean, my WordPress blog has no relation to any other WordPress blog, whereas my Medium post does or doesn't get recommended on Medium.
Yeah. You and I talked to Stephen Levy, who, of course, his publication Back Channel is owned by Condé Nast, but they didn't make a website for it. They just posted on Medium. And what I can't remember. I don't know. Should we consider that off the record, Jeff? You're the journalist.
I guess so. Yeah. But they were kind of, well, put it this way. They asked, so what do you think of Medium now?
They're let's put it this way. They're as baffled as everybody else about what the future of Medium is. Ev said when he launched Medium, he wanted to create, quote, a beautiful space for reading and writing and little else. The words are central. Is it living up to that? I think so.
I think so. I think Ev's central thesis of the internet making the world a worse place than it was before is wrong. So, to me, the whole thing is a bit kind of, just him thinking to himself and maybe getting a bit too heady. But, before the internet, in order to publish, in order to get your stuff out there, you had to be rich enough to own a printing press.
Amen, sir. Amen.
And then you had to, and then if in a television station, well, you had to have the money to own a television. Now, if even if you don't own a computer, you could go into a library. You can have access to basically the same tools, for the most part, that we use as journalists to get stuff out there. Now, is there more noise and confusion than maybe ever before? Maybe. Fake news is propaganda. Well, there's always been, that sort of thing out there. These aren't new problems. They might be amplified because more people are participating than ever before. But upending old power structures, of a select few people who had control of all the media, I think that's actually a good thing. Now, the problem for our industry is that we can't make as much money off it as we used to. Hopefully, eventually, new business models will be found. But the central idea that the internet has made the world a worse place, off the bat, I disagree with it.
I absolutely agree with you. And I'm the optimist to a fault, and I'll salute that flag. But there's also two disturbing documents that are in the rundown this week. One is Dana Boyd's Data and Society released a report from two other researchers, about 106-page report about all the mechanisms and means of manipulation that occurs. Mm-hmm. And then there's also a Guardian story about the reviewers' instructions that come out for Facebook. And it's depressing as hell to read what people do.
Yeah.
And so this discussion I've long had is that the problem with Twitter is the openness probably necessarily breeds trolls and bad behavior. So I agree with absolutely everything you said, but there's a price that comes with it if we're going to be truly open. Yeah. And even if you're a closed network, even if you're Facebook, to be big, what they feel they must tolerate along with speech, and I love free speech, a lot of it's really obnoxious and really horrible, and abuse of animals and abuse even of children. As long as it's not celebratory, they leave it there to be aware. And we live in an ugly world, and so that's part of the world. And so yeah, that's why I'm thinking that maybe what Ev really wants to do is to create a happy place. What does a happy place look like?
He says he's always done the same thing. That all of his ideas are basically the same.
Yeah,
let people speak.
But if you create a great tool to let people speak. How do you make sure you're going to speak? How do you make sure it's only used for stuff you approve of? You can't.
Well, to a certain
extent, that's called a magazine.
Yeah,
right.
That's called a newspaper.
Then you're a publisher, not.
Then you are a publisher,
not an entrepreneur, not a platform.
That's where Ev was headed.
Is. Yeah,
Medium's publishing.
Yeah,
but who says no on Medium?
Well, what they're doing is
they reject stuff.
They're curating the publishers that publish on Medium. And the regular people.
So if I wrote a hate piece, could I post it on Medium?
I think you can, but it won't rise. The argument is it won't rise, that they will recommend only the good stuff.
But
that was the original argument.
Yeah. There are also some terms both on Twitter and on Facebook and on Medium. There are certain things that you can't get away with out there. So you can definitely post something being hateful, talking smack about somebody, but there are certain lines that can't be crossed.
Ev does apologize for Twitter's role in electing the president. This is also from the article. President Trump says, I don't know why his name is turned orange. That might be some editorializing on the New York Times.
Because you used Control F to find.
Oh, okay. President Trump says he believes Twitter put him in the White House. Recently, Mr. Williams heard the claim for the first time. He mulled it over for a bit, sitting in his Medium office. Which is noteworthy only for not having a desk. It's a very bad thing, he said finally, Twitter's role in that. If it's true that he wouldn't be president if it weren't for Twitter, then yeah, I'm sorry. That's kind of tepid. He spoke at commencement in Nebraska, and I thought his quote from that, let me see if I can find it, is interesting, if a little bit classical. I'm going to have to do another search for Prometheus. In a commencement speech at the University of Nebraska this month, Mr. Williams noted that Silicon Valley has a tendency to see itself as a Prometheus. He's just showing off now. Where did he go to school? Stealing fire from selfish gatekeeper gods and bestowing it on mere mortals. All right, so the ability to have a voice.
Yeah.
Quote, what we tend to forget is Zeus was so pissed at Prometheus, he chained him to a rock so eagles could peck out his guts for eternity, Mr. Williams told the crowd. That's uplifting if you're a college senior graduating. You hear that? Some would say that's what we deserve for giving the power of tweets to Donald Trump. I
think he's maybe giving himself a little bit too much credit there.
Yeah,
giving Twitter a little bit too much credit.
If Twitter had not existed, we would have had to invent it. I think there would have been some way for him and all of us to speak. I mean, that's what you could blame YouTube. You could blame Facebook. There's plenty of other platforms.
Trump's team is savvy at all of them.
They're very savvy.
They're savvy at all of them, and he was elected because he won the Electoral College.
Yeah, he won.
Like, it's
can't deny that.
Like it or not, it's a reflection of our electoral process. I don't think Twitter should take all of the congratulations or blame.
Exactly.
No, it shouldn't. But there was a role here. We can never cut it up. But the Data and Society report goes through the levels of manipulation that occur of every, and they manipulate Google, they manipulate Facebook, they manipulate media, very much so. That's the goal. The public, advertisers, and these institutions are not being savvy enough to account for that.
And it's a worthwhile report, and it's all spot on. It's true, but as long as there have been things to manipulate, there have been people to manipulate them, right? So again, these aren't necessarily new problems.
But are we good at adjusting for that, right? So PR was invented to manipulate us in the press.
Yeah.
And so we try to account for that. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
Well, maybe more to the point, this is something that Russia and Putin's government has used very effectively in manipulating its own people, is this flood of news, a mix of truth and untruth, making it difficult to distinguish facts from lies, intentionally overwhelming people with signals. They did that because they controlled the media in Russia. Well, you don't need to control the media in the West. You just need to be able to post on Facebook and Twitter, and the rest follows. So in a way, maybe we gave a very useful tool to somebody who was very willing to misuse it and manipulate it.
He was effective at manipulating the media too, I think was the point. CNN would air
They fell for it too.
Rallies in their entirety.
Yeah. You know what? It's still the best.
Most interesting candidate.
What was it? The United Nations was saying there's people starving to death. Would you stop covering Trump?
Yeah.
And it is still the most. I mean, whatever else you might say about the president, he and his team are very good at making entertainment. And you can't stop watching him.
And media are built for the reward system of media. That's
how it works.
As I said, when I interviewed David Kenny, the head of IBM Watson, and they had Watson write headlines, and they fed the business model of the channel into it. And so guess what? It wrote clickbait.
Right.
Because that's what was going to work.
Yeah.
Ev says in this article concluding it, I think we'll fix these things. Just don't hold your breath. The work has barely begun, he says. 20 years isn't very long to change how society works. So even Ev isn't all that convinced that we're going to be able to do much about it. I think the risks of stifling free speech are so great that it's really a difficult thing. It's a challenging thing to solve.
If you were Ev, what would you do with Medium? Any of you?
Well, I wouldn't have created Medium in the first place, to be honest with you. I think that's a little quixotic. Anybody?
I mean,
what do we need a centralized journalism platform for?
Well, I think there's room for new publishers, and if he can look at it just as a new media publisher, then that could be. But like, he's already had his big businesses that have made billions of dollars.
It does feel like a millionaire's hobby as opposed to an intent to create a viable business.
Yeah, I mean, the one of the things that bothers me about it is I think he means well, but I'd throw this criticism at any media company, legacy or new, like what Ev's doing with Medium, is they're not necessarily doing anything that new. Like it's still revenue.
It's kind of like Blogger.
It is exactly like it. It's revenue comes from ads, and you're asking people to publish for free, and then you're saying we might promote your stuff.
I feel like we have the
here.
World Wide Web. We don't need the Medium. We got public. Everybody can publish.
Well, I think, and this is something that Jeff and you hit on earlier, is the idea of curating what's there to create that happy place. I think that was kind of the goal with Medium. Is there are a lot of great voices out there. Let's put them together in a more like-minded place.
I'm
think that's what
I'm
Medium
not knocking
is.
it. I read Medium all the time. I like it. It's beautiful.
Yeah, but it's
I
also
like being able to underline it and see what you guys underline and things like that.
Yeah, but just like a magazine, it is a curation of like-minded, for the most part, folks.
Right. Well, that's not a bad.
It's not bad, but
except that the advertising model failed, so now he's kind of in a rock between a rock and a hard place.
The advertising.
Yeah, I'm not sure he tried enough on the advertising. I think if you look at Quartz is now profitable. Yes, it does native advertising, but it's well labeled.
I
and well
like
executed
Quartz.
native
Is Quartz
advertising.
making money?
It is. It was profitable full year last year.
But
see, Quartz
good news.
Quartz is an outright publication. Medium's
yes,
more,
it is.
Medium's more like the Huffington Post or BuzzFeed, where they let people go on there and write for free, as in they don't pay them, and they benefit from this swell of content coming in that they don't pay for, and then they have their editorial teams over the top of it, and then they work with those who pay to get in to get the extra promotion, which for Medium, it's actual publications, where for BuzzFeed, it's like Tide or, whatever brand. So again, it's not really a new model. It's not a new idea. It's just his curation, and it's great, and I enjoy it. It's just, if you really want to say you're going to do something new and groundbreaking for journalism, well, this ain't it.
Yeah. Quartz, by the way, I noticed has completely changed its look and feel.
Yeah.
It was the Infinite Scroll magazine before, and now it's just a little bit. I guess it's still.
But it had no homepage at the start.
Right.
Well, if you go into a specific story, you still get the Infinite Scroll.
You still do. So, I mean, what does a homepage mean in this day and age, where all the traffic comes from links from Twitter and Facebook?
It's a branding exercise. It helps
SEO.
Set your design aesthetic.
People go to Bloomberg.com, right? I mean, that's
they do. Yeah. It drives traffic still, not
as
much as it used to. Yeah. The New York Times homepage, a lot of people still go to.
Yeah.
But yeah, the homepage does not have the relevance that it once had.
Actually, I think that's one of the things, and I think I could say this one. I was asking Stephen Levy if people went to backchannel.com and I think almost all he said we do get front page traffic, as you are also saying, but I think deep links into the articles directly is the most traffic for everybody nowadays.
But what I was talking about, the homepage as a branding exercise, it's like, Bloomberg is about data. So we present.
You could see all the things Bloomberg does here. That's what we wanted to do with our website too, is if you didn't know what Twit was, you could go to the front page and quickly grok what it was about. That's the best you can hope for with a homepage, right? And you're not going to get somebody going back again and again. You're going to get them the first time when they're researching you. So we have these big banners that say what we do, and then right underneath it, latest news, helping how to reviews, so you understand that there are shows, and there are shows in these categories. That's all we ever hoped to do, frankly, with the front page.
I think it's that in and of itself is reason enough to have a homepage,
right?
And instead of just
it's a billboard. Let's take a break. I do note that Biz Stone has gone back to Twitter. I don't know if that's a big story or not, but we can talk about that. Apple has some interesting ideas about tracking your blood sugar. In fact, Tim Cook seems to be wearing an unusual watch these days. And Amazon, I don't know what the news is, but I'm just going to say the word. Amazon, Facebook, Twitter, and some stuff that'll just make you want to cry. It's all coming up. Great panel today. Jeff Jarvis from Twig, This Week in Google, and, of course, the City University of New York, buzzmachine.com. Always a pleasure. It was really nice to see you. I wish we'd had some more time together.
Yeah.
But we got
to see you and Lisa.
I got to capture Bubbles.
We got swag.
Not the chimp. It was the thing before the I.O. They were keeping us entertained with it. Really kind of the dopiest games ever. Mark Millian is here, Bloomberg Business Week, Bloomberg.com/tech for his great tech coverage. And, of course, our own Nathan Olivarez-Giles, NATO G. Our show today brought to you by Betterment, the easy, smart, best way to invest for your financial future. You've seen tech change so much, commerce, entertainment, ride sharing, home security. Did you know that computers can help you invest better too? Betterment is the largest independent automated investing service, and they've really changed the industry by making investing easier. And of course, because computers are cheap, you pay a fraction of what you'd pay for traditional financial services. And I would argue you get a better, much better result. Betterment combines smart technology, and they do have human advisors, and I like that. So you can optimize your results at every level of investment. You'll get access to a team of certified financial professionals, licensed financial experts. They also, along with the computers, monitor your accounts. They can answer questions. You can make planning calls, and you can, get notifications throughout the year. But the algorithms will also, minute by minute, even second by second, keep track of your investment based on your interests in growth, in tolerance of risk, that kind of thing. You can also securely sync your outside investments with Betterment, so you've got one dashboard that tells you your net worth and how everything's doing in one place. It's easy, and I highly recommend you do this, to use their smart deposits. So if you have a little excess cash in your account, it'll automatically invest, and that's the best way to build your nest egg. When you're getting ready for retirement, or even before then, you should probably start thinking about it sooner than later. They've got a great retirement guide that provides a consolidated view of where your investments stand, calculates any gap that there might be, shows you how to close that gap. They do sophisticated things that only computers do, like tax loss harvesting that lowers your investment taxes and increases your after-tax returns. And of course, it's very affordable. No trade, no transaction, no rebalancing fees. And I like this. It's easy to get started. There's no minimum to sign up. So you're going to get great diversification. You're going to get smart rebalancing. You're going to get tax loss harvesting, lower fees, and all that means you can expect higher returns than a typical DIY investor. Of course, as with everything, investing involves risk. I got to say that, but you got to invest. You got to take a little risk if you're going to be ready to retire, if you're going to be ready to send your kids to college, if you're going to be ready to buy that house, if you're going to have that nest egg. Get 1 month managed free when you make an initial deposit of $10,000 or more. If you've been managing your own IRA or your 401k, get it over to betterment.com/twit. Betterment.com/twit. Betterment. The name says it all. It's investment made better. Does it mean anything that Biz is going back to Twitter, or does it really mean just craziness ahead where you've got CEOs at each other's throats? Founders at each other's throats, a board that doesn't know what to do.
He's filling a biz-sized hole.
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
That's his line?
That was his blog post.
Yeah.
He's like, they haven't outlined an exact job for me, but you could
I'm
say
filling
I'll be filling a biz-sized
hole. Is he going to? Oh, it's on Medium, of course.
It sounds like he's going to go back to basically
Biz dev?
kind of like, raw, rally the troops, rah, like company culture, get people excited. And it'll probably be a little bit of a liaison between both the company and the press, and then, the company and its employees itself.
Yeah, in the early days, a big part of his role was marketing and PR. So I think they could use a little bit of help in that sphere. So it makes sense for them. But like for a company who's one of their biggest financial issues is that their compensation packages are so extreme that they pay out so much equity, which contributes to their losses, to hire somebody and not formalize a role for them is a little bit of weird.
Well, that's one of the things that I would have loved to have seen that no stories out there that I saw answered was how much he's getting paid, if he's getting paid at all. It would have been nice to see if he's like just taking $1 or something.
Yeah.
I'm willing to bet he's getting paid
more than $1.
But no disrespect to him in this role, but it seems like it's kind of like what Palmer Luckey used to do for Oculus. It seems like he's going to be kind of the face of the brand.
Before he started cosplaying and
the vision guy.
Everybody off. Yeah.
He says in his Medium post, my top focus will be to guide the company culture, that energy, that feeling
See, I don't want to say he's going to be a mascot of sorts, but he's going to be basically there to get everybody happy and up off their butts and kind of feeling good.
I'm not replacing anyone at Twitter. Somebody mentioned I'm just filling the biz-shaped hole I left.
Yeah.
You might even say the job description includes being Biz Stone. Oh my God, I'm gonna throw up. That's my job description: being Leo Laporte.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Ev said, and I think this is I don't know if this is a compliment. Well, you're among the best in the world at being Biz Stone. If I were an investor in Twitter, this would not, to me, herald any big improvement.
Well, the company went up a little bit, and then it kind of calmed down after the announcement. It didn't seem to do much.
Do you think they put out a job posting just in case to see what other
We got a
applicants
Biz
they get?
Stone hole we'd like to fill. Anybody biz-shaped out there? I understand a company like Twitter needs to have kind of an overall feeling.
Yeah.
But at this point, Twitter is a utility. It just should be, I don't know what. Somebody should just say, we're not going to make any money at it. We're just going to buy it and let it run.
Well, I guess
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
One of the maybe good things that could come from this is genuinely like the most important thing Biz Stone has ever been a part of in his life. So
what did he do after he left Twitter?
Jelly. He started Jelly, that like a question app that was.
It was Quora.
Yeah, it was basically real people would go and find.
They sold it, right?
Yeah, they sold it to Pinterest.
And he was at Pinterest for a short while. I think he's staying on as an advisor.
I think
in
Pinterest
some
bought
capacity.
it because they had some kind of image recognition technology they were working on or something, right? So
this is a good country to be a former founder. There's a lot.
It's a good country to be a billionaire in.
Yeah, it's a good country to be a billionaire. A lot of opportunity out there for the billionaires. Somebody said, Alex C in the chat room says, things not to bring up on a first date, your biz-shaped hole.
Oh, God.
It's business time. Let's talk about, I don't know. I don't care about anything anymore. I'm just waiting for the artificial intelligence to kick in, and then I'm going to go home.
Just take over.
Apple CEO Tim Cook has been wearing a weird watch, apparently. He's been test driving a glucose monitor. According to CNBC, Apple has a team dedicated to the holy grail in diabetes, non-invasive, in other words, no pinprick, continuous glucose monitoring.
That's huge if they do it. If they find the way, it's huge.
He's been spotted at the campus wearing this watch. I don't know how they know that that's what that watch does. A source, I think it has a specialized band. A source said that Cook was wearing a prototype glucose tracker on the Apple Watch that points to future applications that would make a device a must-have for millions of people with diabetes. Now, of course, Apple could easily have this. The problem is to put it out as a product, you have to get FDA approval. This is non-trivial. This requires trials. I'm sure Apple will do it. They've got the money.
Cardia is the company that's done something along this line.
That's Vic Gundotra's company.
Vic Gundotra's company.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not quite clear that it's even an Apple-made product from the story. Like, maybe it's a third-party
isn't it
device
accessory
that hooks
trying
into
it
the
out.
Apple Watch.
Yeah, we don't know.
Apparently, he talked in February at the University of Glasgow to some students, and he didn't say if it was a medical device from Medtronic or Dexcom, some other company, or an Apple prototype. He just said.
See, the other thing is here is that it interests me. So my mother is a type 1 diabetic, has been since I was born. My fault. And there are other signals too. There are sets of signals that if you're going into an insulin reaction or if you're going into acidosis, it's like going into an epileptic seizure or going into Tourette's outburst. There's things that may be predictive with AI that go beyond the single measure.
Even the heart rate monitor on the Apple Watch, we've seen evidence that it could be used to detect tachycardia or, as you have, fibrillation, and warn the user, hey, your heart rate is heartbeat is abnormal. You better maybe get one of those Cardia out and do an EKG. These are hugely valuable things. And it would take something, a product that's kind of been languishing, looking for a niche to fill. It's been selling, I guess, okay, but isn't anything anybody needs. Man, if there's 11 million diabetics in the country, every one of them would buy something they didn't have to buy.
Oh, God, yes.
Yeah. And by the way, a lot of people who aren't diabetics Tim Cook's not a diabetic. He said he lost 30 pounds. He's just been paying attention to how what he eats affects his spikes his sugar.
Wow.
And he's been able to use that to his health advantage. So it's a really big market, frankly.
And, as far as wearables go, the Apple Watch is really the only one outside of like Fitbit as a company as a whole. But it's kind of like the only smartwatch that you really do see a massive amount of people out there wearing. It might not be an iPhone-sized blockbuster, but a lot of people wear them, and they sell quite well. If they do have a genuine advantage here on the health side, because Google's trying to invest in this, and Microsoft's been trying to invest in similar things. They aren't the first one to try and solve these problems, but that would be a big consumer win for them.
Huge. That's a
big win.
Massive business.
Yeah.
But I could see other things too. Again, who knows what things like a sensor here and eye dilation.
Yeah.
Galvanic skin response.
And we know Google in their Verily division, their Med Sciences division, is doing a contact lens that can also monitor glucose levels.
Right. Right.
So
I think there's a lot of, and if you put AI behind this, if you get enough data to recognize those signals.
Oh, imagine.
God knows what all you can start to determine about somebody. Upcoming heart. Imagine if they can start getting any percentage of predicting your heart attack an hour before you have it.
And we know that the sooner you get to the hospital after a heart attack, the better your chances of total recovery. Stroke too. Right. Those things would be major life-saving technologies. Sad because available, only in the first world to effectively wealthy individuals. But maybe Apple can solve that too. Your colleague Mark Gurman, saw him at Google I/O. Smart kid, has some pretty good sources.
He's out in full force.
Yeah, he says Apple plans laptop upgrades that they will announce June 5th at WWDC. This is something we've been waiting for. Microsoft is having a event on the 23rd this week in Shanghai. That they're also expected to announce laptops. This is the time of year, if believe it or not, for school. If you're going to do you announce these things in June. You want to get them in the stores so the kids can buy them for a September return to school.
Yep, August, September, yeah.
So Apple's laptops have been kind of lagging. You're both using Apple laptops. You have a
MacBook Pro
with the toolbar.
Yeah.
And you've got the MacBook minus the toolbar.
No toolbar.
No toolbar. But
one
both,
port.
Yeah. You know what? I kind of miss my MacBook. I gave it to my mom, which is great for her because it's very thin and light.
Yeah.
But I kind of miss it. It was I hated the keyboard. The keyboard just awful.
The keyboard I like.
I love
it's
the
really
keyboard.
grown on me.
Yeah.
I don't. It's kind of slow. The chip in it is not great.
It's an Core M processor.
Yeah, mobile chip.
And of course, Microsoft did announce the Surface Laptop, which is kind of their version of the MacBook, except with a fine Alcantara fabric. On the keyboard.
Their hardware's come a long way, though.
But
you're using it.
Well, I'm using the Surface Studio. I really like this, and I ordered a Mac, a Surface. Isn't that interesting? I called it a Mac, but it's a Surface laptop. I ordered one. I think, and we were talking about this before the show, nowadays, a lot of what people do isn't really on an operating system. It's in the cloud. Most computing is done in the browser. So the operating system gets less and less important. The difference between a Mac and Windows 10 is so minor at this point. If mostly you live in Chrome, it doesn't matter.
So that's why I have my Chromebook.
Right. Well, and a Chromebook would, boy, if you were running Windows 7, you probably wished you were running a Chromebook this week. WannaCry. What a nightmare.
The biggest distinction between operating systems is security. It really seems that way.
Although don't pat yourself, you Mac users, too much, because there are ransomware attacks.
There
nowhere near, and there's no WannaCry. It's an interesting thing because WannaCry is just another kind of ransomware.
Yep.
It's spread rapidly because it was able to take advantage of a exploit in Windows SMB. There's their Samba messaging, which is, I call it Samba. There's something message block. I can't remember, single message block. Their networking technology that allowed it to spread as a worm throughout the entire LAN. So if you got it on a laptop, brought it into work, the whole place would go down. Unless they were running Windows 10 or they had patched Windows 7. We're seeing now that almost 98% of the infections are Windows 7. Very few XP people got bit because there aren't very many XP machines attached to the internet. And Microsoft had patched it in March, but a lot of businesses don't update their patches. And now here's the kind of the double twist. Microsoft was really angry at the NSA, saying, it's your fault if you hadn't found this exploit. If you just told us, we wouldn't have had this problem. The only reason they patched it is because the NSA got hacked or leaked, and the shadow brokers published gigabytes of data about NSA exploits, one of which was this SMB exploit. But now there's a guy who's created a fix for WannaCry. If you haven't rebooted, there is a fix for WannaCry that is, it's kind of Microsoft giveth and Microsoft take it away. Another bug in Microsoft Windows so it turns out that the WannaCry guys were, they were efficient. They used Microsoft's own encryption technology to encrypt the hard drive. It turns out there's a flaw in Microsoft's encryption technology. It keeps the 2 prime numbers, the factors, in RAM. And so a guy has written a program that goes through RAM, finds that if you haven't rebooted, if you've rebooted, all bets are off, finds the key, and it will unlock your hard drive. I mentioned that carefully. Dan Gooden writes about it, and I trust Dan.
It only works for XP?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it only works for XP. I'm not sure. I think that maybe, I don't know. This might be an older article, and there might be more to say about it. In any event, I just find it ironic that it's something poorly written about Microsoft's cryptographic application programming interface, or API. It keeps those keys in memory, which is, of course, a stupid thing to do. But maybe you can fix your Windows XP. Don't be fooled, though. There are a lot of people out there who offer phony ransomware decryption tools. There are some cases where they work, but in a lot of cases they don't. Eternal Blue was the NSA exploit that WannaCry took advantage of.
So how did the guy who stopped it find what did it take to find the kill switch?
Oh, the kill switch is funny. So that's another story. This isn't the kill switch, but that's another story.
Oh, sorry.
I saw 1 or 2 reports that some intelligence officials think that WannaCry comes from North Korea, that it was actually a state-sponsored attack, which makes sense because they've made very little money, right? Most of these ransomwares don't make a lot of money. And it was well written. It was translated into more than a dozen languages. It had a very helpful link of what is Bitcoin and how to buy Bitcoin. And it had a kill switch, which is not something, the typical Macedonian hacker
would build in. The kill switch worked that there was a very long, obscure URL that didn't exist, that wasn't registered as a domain. But WannaCry would go out, would check the web to see if this domain existed. If it did, it would say, okay, I've been terminated, and would not encrypt your hard drive. So somebody was going through the code. He didn't even know what it would do. He just thought, well, I should register this domain name. He created a website there, and it stopped WannaCry because WannaCry said, oh, there's a website. We've been turned off. Then people who wanted to retroactively use WannaCry, probably not North Korea, but just random, script kiddies, a couple of them tried to overwrite. They took the WannaCry source code and they'd use a hex editor to overwrite the domain name. And then now there's a DDoS attack against the domain, hoping that will reactivate WannaCry. Take it offline. Wow. It's what a world. I blame Ev Williams and Twitter. Thanks, Ev.
Yeah, the New York Times said actually the clues point to North Korea, partly because some of the code is very similar to the code used in the Sony exploit, which intelligence officials also believe came from North Korea. Also, a Bangladesh bank attack last year and Polish banks in February. American officials said they'd seen the same similarities. I don't know. I mean, when in doubt, blame North Korea.
Do you think that either could have been done for hire by somebody?
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to know where this stuff comes from. And, of course, by now, others are reusing WannaCry code.
Although I feel like this does sort of help Microsoft's point that the NSA should have told them about it if it were a North Korean weapon.
Right.
The NSA should have been like, oh, we found this thing an enemy of the state plans to use. You might want to fix it.
Yeah. Well, On the other hand, if you're the NSA and you've spent great time and effort to collect a bunch of exploits that will help you spy on Mark Millian as soon as he starts contacting terrorist rings, I just use your name in vain. I shouldn't. I should use my own name, Leo Laporte, when he attacks, when he starts
now on the NSA watch list.
Yeah, well,
you.
I know.
Thanks,
sorry,
Leo.
I just put you on the watch list. I'm so
Thanks,
sorry.
Ev.
It's all Ev's fault. Blame Ev. That they would want to stockpile those and keep them. Now you got to keep them, guys. If you if you create these exploits, you better lock them up really tight. And they didn't somehow. We don't know how, but maybe a contractor like Edward Snowden leaked these out to WikiLeaks, and Microsoft, as soon as they found them, patched them in March. But yeah, I mean, I think Microsoft goes a little overboard in blaming the NSA. Don't you think everybody's stockpiling these?
It is unreasonable for a company to think that their government is going to clue them into every weapon that they have.
Basically, that turns the NSA into a security outfit protecting Microsoft. Maybe that's what they should do. I don't know. But yeah. Actually, I want to talk about Theresa May and the UK because, of course, there's an election coming up this whole system is confusing, this parliamentary system, but there's an election coming up. There will be perhaps a new prime minister. Theresa May would like to keep her job. And the platform, she's a Tory?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She's like she should be wearing a wig if she's a Tory. The platform of the Tories has something that is notorious. We'll get to that in just a second. Mark Millian, Bloomberg Business Week, Bloomberg.com/tech. Always great. I haven't seen you in so long. I feel like we have much catching up to do. It's great to see you.
Likewise.
Is Goran yours?
Goran's mine. Mine and my wife, Christine.
What is Goran up to? I feel like I just saw something from Goran.
I'm willing to bet he's sleeping.
He's a French
That's
bulldog.
Usually what he's doing.
I follow him everywhere on Instagram, on Twitter.
Instagram.com/GoranSF. Yeah.
I'm a huge Goran fan. And I feel like I just saw something about him. He's sleeping, though. That's what French bulldogs do.
I'm going to be dog sitting him in a couple weeks.
He's the cutest dog ever. Will you bring him in?
I would love to. I'm actually glad you asked. I will bring Goran SF.
Oh, I've never met Goran. There he is doing what he loves to do best.
Mark's dog.
What is Goran? What is that name?
It's from The Legend of Zelda.
Of course it is. Should have known.
The mountain creatures.
I've been playing the new Zelda a lot. I love it.
Excellent game.
So good.
We actually just got tickets to the Symphony of the Goddess. Basically, Nintendo has an orchestra that travels around playing all the Zelda music.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And they play like parts of the game on screen. So we're going to go see that in August.
That would be really
Navy
fun.
Symphony Hall in San Francisco.
Yep. Is a whole bunch of people from Twit doing that? Because I know they like to do that. They went to was it Star Wars concert the other day?
You guys should come.
No, it was a Star Trek
everybody.
concert.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to have to ask. We're going to have to see what's
That's
up.
Nathan Olivarez-Giles. He is in charge of parties here at Twit.
This just happened.
Our concert master. Also, of course, Jeff Jarvis. Great to have you all. Our show today brought to you by, guess what? WordPress. Yay! I just moved my site back to WordPress. I love. You could take a look at leolaporte.com. I love WordPress because I've used it for years. That's been my longest standing blogging platform. I just think it's gorgeous, and it was so easy to move stuff over. And WordPress.com is a really great solution because WordPress does all of the upgrades, all the security patches. And that was I used to self-host, right? And it was so, I was always patching. This way, they keep it up to date. They give you all the great templates you could ever want. They've got a great support team. I actually took advantage of their support team. I said, I want a full bleed slideshow on my front page. How do I do it? And they told me, oh, you'd like the 21st century template. I do. It's very nice. We use WordPress.com every day. In fact, you, believe it or not, use WordPress.com every day because WordPress runs 27% of all the websites in the world. So whether you're looking to create a personal blog or a business site or both, you're going to make a big impact when you build your business on WordPress.com. There's a community there too. I get there's a little follow button on my WordPress site, and I didn't even know this, a huge number of followers. I have 593,898 followers at WordPress.com. That's just because I'm on WordPress. That's awesome. Hundreds of themes to get started. Pick a template, make it your own. Of course, the beauty of WordPress is that all the content is separate from the theme. So if you say, I want to change the content. I've changed the theme today. It's easy to do. Connect in all your social networks. I've got my Instagram updates, my Twitter updates, even my, my indie web updates feed into my WordPress website, and I love that. And it supports there 24/7. More websites run on WordPress than any other platform, including many of the publications that you read every day. Paul Thurrott's site, WordPress.com. So many sites are on WordPress. It's a great content management system. Get started today. We're going to give you 15% off any new plan purchase. Go to WordPress.com/twit to create your website and find the membership plan that is right for you. WordPress.com/twit for 15% off. I'm actually very pleased to say, I took off the archives link. I got to fix that. That I was able to get every blog post going back that I've made till 2000 or 2001 when I started blogging. And I was able to import that right back into WordPress. And that's really great, and now I own it. It's mine. I got it. WordPress.com/twit. In fact, I'm looking at my tweets. And here's the story right there from BuzzFeed. Theresa May wants to regulate the internet. So the conservative platform, they call it their election manifesto, has a line at the very end, BuzzFeed found this, that goes like this. Some people say that it is not for government to regulate when it comes to technology and the internet. We disagree. So polite, so nice. But what it really means is that the Tories who, Theresa May wrote the Snoopers Charter. She sponsored it when she was a member of Parliament, got it forced through when she became PM. And now it looks like the Conservatives, if they win the election, and the polls say that May will win a majority in next month's election,
probably, they
will have a mandate to significantly extend internet regulation, all based on the idea, I'm quoting BuzzFeed, that it's a government's duty to protect citizens just as much on the internet as it does in the real world. The proposals, which apparently are all over the manifesto, involve all kinds of things. Legislation would be introduced, for instance, to protect the public from abuse and offensive material online. Everyone would have a right to be forgotten, the right to wipe material that was posted when they were under 18. Internet companies would be asked to help promote counter-extremism narratives. I don't know what that means at all, but that's scary. There'd be new rules requiring companies to make it ever harder for people to access pornography and violent images. Content creators would have to justify their policies to the government. And by the way, even if Labor won, it ain't so very different. So this is my fear when we talk about fake news and we talk about, how the democratization of that the internet has brought us has brought a lot of negative voices to the fore. I really worry when we say let's control them that this is the end result of it.
I agree. And if you look at the Guardian is not helping things. The Guardian had a story I think we might have mentioned briefly before that goes into the instructions for people who monitor complaints on Facebook. And it's not frightening about Facebook. It's frightening about mankind, what we do and what we do in public. And so you put this kind of stuff out there, and the reflex is surely shut this down, package this, edit the world. But I don't want anybody to edit the world.
Yeah, but at the same time, one of the guidelines is revenge porn.
Yep.
That's reprehensible. It's horrible. Yep. It's the victim has a miserable time stopping it. It's really, something that the internet kind of makes very easy, and I just don't know what the answer is.
Well, I think there should be a distinction too between Facebook versus the UK's government. Facebook is a closed social network. It's a business. It's a place where you share things and they put ads next to those things and then they make money off of that, right? What the UK is talking about is kind of taking a censorship approach to the internet as a whole, as it exists in its country. And those are two totally different things. I mean, now, for many people, Facebook is where they get most of their news and they communicate with friends and families. So in some senses, for those specific folks, it might be their internet because that's the only part of the internet they're hanging out on, but it's not the internet, right? It is a business. It is a closed space. You need a password to get in and all that stuff. It's not public. Versus the stuff that the UK is talking about, and like as you mentioned, between the Tories or the Labour Party, there's not much difference in the way that they're trying to approach that regulation, which in this instance amounts to censorship.
It's going to be a really interesting time in the UK because they had essentially ceded all of internet regulation to the EU when they were part of it.
Right.
Now that they're
Now
breaking,
they say, hey,
they get to
Interesting,
set the
Mike.
agenda.
Interesting.
The EU has been aggressive, but not this aggressive.
Right, and in the discussions around internet regulation, when Britain was a part, and they're still a part of the EU, but in those contexts, the UK would usually be more on the side of a leniency, like where the US was, and Germany would be on the far other end.
Right.
So it's now we'll see. Has the UK shifted a little bit? Are they swinging? Are they disassociating from like the US mentality? And what will the US do now that Donald Trump seems to be a little more eager toward regulation?
Well, even if we don't here in the US, when a country like England, a big country like England does this, it affects every company that works in it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I mean, I guess Google could change its search results in England and not here. They do that with the right to be forgotten in the EU, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but it sets a precedence. I think Mark's really right. Then it's a chase down. And part of the problem here is that we're concentrating. This is back to the Ev point. We're constantly concentrating on the bad. We're trying to play whack-a-mole with the bad. We're never going to get rid of 8chan and 4chan and the bad parts of Reddit. They're going to find a place to go. And if that's all we concentrate on, then we got a problem. Whereas if we find ways to support the good, and there's lots and lots of good, as Nate said earlier, then that's what we have to put our energy behind. And part of the problem is that the manipulation works so well that you do the bad stuff. The reports, the Storeful also has a report coming out Monday that we helped fund at NII, the thing I'm running now, News Integrity Initiative. And, it's fascinating to see how quickly things rise from 8chan and 4chan up to Breitbart, up to the world. And media is still set up at a point where they swallow it and they give it promotion. And that's the goal. And so that's the vision of the world that we see is a very tiny, small number of people who do crappy stuff get huge amplification in media. So it's not the fault of the internet. It's as much the fault of the media as anybody else.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to fix.
If you look at these rules at Facebook's, was this leaked to The Guardian?
Yeah, it was leaked. Yeah.
In the slide deck, and I guess this is used for training, they call it the Facebook files. It says that moderators often have just 10 seconds to make a decision. There's so much content that they have to review. One document says Facebook reviews more than 6.5 million reports a week on fake accounts alone. Fake accounts alone. I would hate to be, this would be a tough job and you'd have to work very quickly. And if you read the rules, it's not immediately obvious.
No.
For instance, videos of violent death, while marked as disturbing, do not always have to be deleted because they can help create awareness of issues such as mental illness.
If they celebrate or encourage, they're taken down. But if they are there, this is a journalistic issue. If you have Ferguson, if Facebook took down, if Twitter took down the videos from Ferguson, we never would have seen the Black Lives Matter outcry that was able to gather around it. So pictures of death matter.
It's difficult. Videos of abortions are allowed as long as there's no nudity. That's just weird. If you want to live stream attempts to self-harm, Facebook will allow it because, quote, it doesn't want to censor or punish people in distress.
These are hard decisions. The problem is you can read any of that stuff and say, oh my God, look what Facebook's doing to the world. No, look what the world is doing to itself.
Yeah.
And Facebook is in this position of judging now, and I'm not saying they do things right. They had the Vietnam napalm photo.
Right.
They've screwed things up, but these are hard human decisions. And an algorithm is not going to make them well.
And I got bad news for all of you. Anyone with more than 100,000 followers is a public figure, which means you don't have the same protections as a private individual. They've actually given it a numeric. Mark Millian's quickly checking how many followers he has.
Well, you're already a public figure because the blue check mark next to your.
Oh God, you just missed.
Yeah.
I don't know what that, if that means you're going to get more abuse, but this Guardian article is interesting. I mean, I don't know. You're allowed to say kick a person with red hair, but you're not allowed to say someone shoot the president. You're allowed to say, I don't even want to read this. I don't even want to read this. You're allowed to say, let's beat up fat kids. But you can't say, I don't even want to read these. You should read the article. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
But I mean, as Jeff said, these are the questions that they have to wrestle with because of the position they put themselves in.
They understand they have to be explicit and train people and say, this is okay, this is not.
This is the company they built themselves to be.
These are also guidelines driven by advertisers. It's what advertisers are willing to stomach. You look at what happened with YouTube when they were serving ads next to neo-Nazi videos.
Yeah.
Yep.
They were doing that for a long time until the advertisers started pulling.
Yep.
It's not like other media where there's a problem of adjacency. Oh my God, you put my ad on Breitbart or on a neo-Nazi site or on a porn site, right? And Facebook, there's never once is the ad next to the same content, right?
Oh,
so
well, it's similar to YouTube.
It's on the column on the right, though, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's on somebody's page, and there's no adjacency there. Now they're changing that around instant articles. There's going to be adjacencies. Right now on Facebook, there's not an adjacency problem so much. So I'm not so sure that it's advertiser motivated as it is fear of regulation motivated and bad PR motivated.
But if you look at this, there's no way that if you're a member of Congress, you're going to say, oh, that's fine. Graphic violence. You can generally, imagery of animal abuse can be shared. You might want to mark it as disturbing. Ooh. And I could see Congress looking at this saying, well, no.
But then you have then let's say the Philadelphia Inquirer does a story on what's his name who plays for the Philadelphia Eagles now, who got in trouble for animal abuse.
Mike Vick.
Thank you. One real man among us.
He actually was retired now. He hasn't played for the Eagles for 2 seasons.
Two real men among us. I wouldn't know this.
Yeah.
But if you get a report on somebody snuck in and did animal abuse and says that he's doing this, then should the Philadelphia Inquirer's report be killed?
No. Right? That's news.
So the problem is the context. It just sounds like it's some sicko showing animal abuse. Well, maybe it's an expose of animal abuse. Maybe it's a necessary thing to let the world know what's going on.
And that's why there are these areas that are spelled out in Facebook's directions where it might be okay to publish some of these things, right?
Yes. But what Leo's point is, which is quite right, a member of Congress comes along and says, oh man, I got fresh meat.
Yeah.
These people allow pictures of animal abuse. How dare they? The speech writes itself.
Yep.
And the FCC comes along. Oh, joy. Ajit Pai, he'll have fun with this. And the parents, whatchamacallit council I used to hate when they went after Howard Stern. Oh, they'll have a field day.
Well, it's good for Howard Stern because Howard Stern seems quite tame now.
Yeah.
Times have changed. Russian hackers target Pentagon workers with malware-laced Twitter messages. Yeah, well, so what's new?
That's our world now.
Chelsea Manning, I saw a beautiful picture of Chelsea Manning, who is now free from prison.
I didn't realize, I saw a report today on TV, that because she is going to appeal the verdict against her, she's still officially on active duty.
No kidding.
I had no idea of that.
So it was a military court that convicted her?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Zomato was hacked. Do you use Zomato? I don't know what Zomato. It's a restaurant search service. 17 million customer email addresses and passwords stolen. The Swedes have dropped the rape case against Julian Assange, not so much because they gave up. They don't think there's a case, but just because it's been going on, and they don't. They're not really. They can't make any progress on it. He's staying, of course, in the Ecuadorian embassy in London.
So here's a question for you. Does Donald Trump prosecute him or pardon him?
I don't even think that would be, I think his brain would explode if you asked him that question. I don't think that, because on the one hand, he praised WikiLeaks. And
oh, did he ever?
But on the other hand, now they're leaking about him, so it's not so good. Let's take a little break, wrap this up. There's probably much more to talk about. Microsoft is patching Minecraft so kids won't poison their pet birds anymore.
What?
Apparently, there was a big controversy in the Minecraft community when the fans of the game pointed out the cookies, which you use in Minecraft to tame parrots,
Could kill the birds.
could actually be deadly to real-life birds. In fact, it was the most upvoted post of all time on /r/Minecraft.
Kids thought because they feed cookies to birds in the game that they can feed
Do
cookies
not
to birds
feed
in real
your
life.
parrots cookies in the real life.
I'm sad.
Well, the controversy around the opening of Lou Grant. Leo, remember that?
No.
The opening of Lou Grant, My Sons, was a show about a newsroom. Well, let me explain to you what a newsroom was.
You see, as time goes by, it's getting harder and harder to explain.
And so they go through the whole process of putting out the paper and all this wonderment that goes into it in the opening credits, and then the paper ends up lining the cage of a bird cage. But that would poison the bird.
Yeah. Oh, you don't put newspaper in the bird cage?
No, the ink. It's bad for them.
I had no idea. It's a good thing I don't have any birds.
I didn't know that either.
Did he find it? Oh, yay. Oh, yes. Oh, memories.
Mason Adams, I loved him.
Not really a problem these days. Who subscribes to newspapers anymore, right?
Nancy Marchand and Mrs. Pynchon. And there's the newspaper. That's called a printer, kids.
No, that's the mailroom.
Mark and I have worked at
there.
newspapers, for the record. We know what
Did you
things are.
deliver newspapers when you were kids?
No.
No. So the fella goes, he reads the paper with his coffee, Los Angeles Tribune,
Made to look like the LA Times.
cuts out a piece, and then puts it
Where you used to work.
in the bird cage, and the canary
bird is
dies.
dead.
It's so sad. On that note, we had a fun week this week. It was a really good week, and we've made a little tiny movie so you can see it and see everything you missed. Watch.
Previously on Twit.
Jeff Jarvis is here, unusually next to me, which means I can do, and that's great.
This Week in Google.
So the reason he mentioned this image recognition improvement is to announce a new project called Google Lens.
I have been wanting this forever because I constantly do things like walk through my yard and I'm like, ooh, is this a weed or is it a plant? Can I eat
there
it?
you
Also,
go.
can I eat this?
That's
This is
something
absurd.
that a human would be not as good at, right?
The new screensavers.
The Maker Faire in San Mateo. This is the original, the 12th annual. We met a lot of fans, but also saw a lot of cool stuff. These are shadow boxes kids made. Maker Faire is so fun because it just shows human creativity, ingenuity, and technology.
Know-how.
This week, we're going to do something a little bit different, which is deliberately infecting your network. This is something you should not do. Let's go ahead and run it.
Twit, making the world safe for technology.
So this is the screen. Oh,
Wow, he installed WannaCrypt on our network?
My computer.
Oh, how dare you, Father Robert. Fortunately, he can also exorcise it,
Yeah,
so it's good.
Padre's good at that.
Yeah, he does it both.
Leo, you run a great company. That's great stuff that goes on in a week.
Thank you, Jeff. I know, it's always fun. We have a lot of fun here. Got a great team of people. And a great week coming up, I should point out. Megan Maroney, what's ahead?
Here's a look at just a few of the stories we'll be watching in the week ahead. Microsoft is holding an event in Shanghai where we expect to see an update to the Surface Pro. Rumors and leaks show not much of a redesign for the new Surface Pro, which will probably just be called the Surface Pro instead of the Surface Pro 5. Say goodbye to Hangouts SMS messaging. Google is removing the option this week on May 24th. The Women in Engineering International Leadership Conference will be held in San Jose, California this week. Speakers include Lakshmi Puri, Deputy Executive Director of UN Women, and Maria Clow, President of Harvey Mudd College, where half of their current computer science majors are women. And finally, the IEEE Computer Society Technical Committee is holding its 38th annual symposium on security and privacy, also in San Jose. That's a look at a few of the things we'll be tracking in the coming week. Join Jason Howell and me on Tech News Today every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, here on twit.tv.
Yep. Keep up on your tech news all week long. Nathan Austin appears on that show as well. I don't know. I feel like we covered everything. I'm sorry.
You went through a lot.
Caught me off guard here because I was trying to... Pandora stock soaring. Following a report that SiriusXM is in talks to buy it.
That would be pretty interesting.
Yeah. Uber starts charging what it thinks you're willing to pay. This is from Bloomberg.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, we got a
what?
little scoop on this.
Tell us about this.
Is this one more reason to stop using Uber?
Potentially.
I used Uber the other day. It's just easy. It's fun. It's natural. It just comes naturally. I probably shouldn't.
But I mean, there is Lyft. A lot of people have gone over to Lyft.
So since late last year, they've been quietly experimenting with this new pricing method,
route-based pricing,
which they call
route-based pricing.
Route-based pricing,
Yeah.
and instead of the old model, which was some calculation of distance, time,
Like
and,
a cab
and
works,
surge
in
pricing,
other words. Yeah.
Yep.
They now use AI to essentially estimate how much you're willing to pay. And they use signals such as if you're coming from like an expensive neighborhood and going to another expensive neighborhood.
Oh, no.
They can estimate, well, this person might be willing to pay a little more
Inverse
than somebody
redlining. Oh, my God.
Is this the worst AI that's out there? It's just like, you know what? Actually,
that guy's rich. He should give me more.
Charge him an extra $5. Charge them an extra $2.
Well, they're still losing money. They lost $2.8 billion last year.
They're losing a lot of money. And so they finally come out and said, because drivers were complaining that they were saying, I'm finding out that passengers are paying a lot more than you're paying me. So what's going on? So they finally came out and said, okay, we've been doing this experiment. We're going to continue paying drivers based on the old model of distance and time. And we're going to charge riders based on this new calculation.
Oh, that's even worse.
We're going to take everything that's in the middle.
I wonder if they have an AI that's like, I wonder how little we can pay that driver versus how little we can pay that driver.
You know, he didn't shave today. He clearly needs the money. We're going to pay him half as much today.
Yeah.
It's as if they came along and said, all right, Google says don't be evil. How can we make a company that makes money by being evil?
How evil could we be and still have a business? Unbelievable.
Good scoop.
FCC claims without any evidence that they've been DDoSed. Darn it. You know that, what was it? Go FCC yourself, the John Oliver site. Go FCC yourself. John Oliver sent so many comments, as he has before, to the FCC over the net neutrality debate. So the FCC
he was advocating for people to tell the FCC to keep net neutrality rules in place instead of undoing them the way that Ajit Pai, the current chairman, wants to do.
So he sent a lot of people there. I went there. I commented earlier this week on Tuesday. Yeah. I said, you know, I run a Twit as a internet-based streaming service. If internet service providers were allowed to discriminate against me, it would put me out of business. Yep. I feel that we exist, we innovate, we hire and pay 25 people, full-time staffers, and many dozens more contractors because we're able to make a living on the internet. We exist because the internet is open and free. I sent that in. I guess I got it in, but apparently because they were DDoSed. I think the DDoS was a lot of people commenting.
It's just citizens.
That's exactly what it was.
They never demonstrated in any way that it was malicious DDoSing.
Yeah, well, last time this came up, about 4 million people commented, which a couple years ago got us to the net neutrality rules we have now. That was under the Obama administration.
Right. And it opened Tom Wheeler's eyes.
Exactly. And a couple million people have commented so far. They say it's around, I think, like 2 million, so not as many as last time. But Ajit Pai so far has said that public polls and comments won't sway his opinions.
No, because they're wrong, because net neutrality is bad for business.
That's all that matters.
So if you go to John Oliver's Go FCC Yourself site, Hello. Because of a procedural quirk, the FCC will not be considering any comments on the issue of net neutrality that are submitted over the next week or so. We'll update you when the comments are officially open again. In the interim, you'll have to find something else to be mad about on the internet. Thank you, FCC. You'd almost
What's
think
that
like
URL again?
Go FCC yourself.
I don't remember that.
It almost is as if they feel like the public shouldn't have any say in this. Why would they want to talk about that? This is between us and the internet service providers. We'll handle this. Don't worry your pretty little heads about a thing. We got this. Infuriating. Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll reopen it. They say we're not going to publish evidence of the DDoS. You're just going to have to take our word for it.
Yeah, it smells like BS, honestly.
There is so much of it.
Ugh.
So much of it. So I guess they voted. They voted to take the comments, but when? What is the timeline now?
I think it's a 2-week period, which is normally shorter than usual.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I believe that's what it is.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. And this just goes right on the topic. A reporter, actually a very distinguished reporter, John M. Donnelly of the CQ Roll Call, is also the chairman of the National Press Club's Press Freedom Team, president of the Military Reporters and Editors Association, was apparently asking too many questions at the FCC at a public hearing, was forced to leave the premises by security guards.
This comes after a reporter was arrested for asking questions of the Commerce Secretary, I believe it was, in West Virginia.
He was not confrontational. He was politely asking questions of the FCC commissioners, as is his role as a reporter representing us, since we couldn't be there. They forced him to leave the building under implied threat of force. These are plainclothes, private security personnel. Donnelly said, "I could not have been less threatening or more polite. There's no justification for using force in such a situation." The National Press Club president, Jeff Ballou, said Donnelly was doing his job, doing it with his characteristic civility. Reporters can ask questions in any area of a public building that is not marked off as restricted to them. Officials who are fielding the questions are not required to answer, but it is completely unacceptable to physically restrain a reporter who has done nothing wrong or force him or her to leave a public building paid for by us, the taxpayers, as if a crime has been permitted. No comment from the FCC. Anthony Weiner pleaded guilty. I don't think. Yeah. Here's some good news, but I think it's a temporary respite. You no longer have to register non-commercial drones with the FAA. The court threw the rule out because
fascinating that the drone companies are unhappy.
Yeah, that's wild.
Quality. Yeah, I like that.
So apparently there was a law passed by Congress in 2012, the FAA Modernization and Reform Act, which prohibited the FAA from passing rules on the operation of model aircraft. But the drone manufacturers kind of liked it, that you had to register. Why did they like it?
I think that because the bad press for drones doing bad things,
bad for drone sales,
could kill the whole industry. Yeah.
Well, I suspect, in fact, there's already moves afoot in Congress to change the law and make it legal again. I think we could wrap it up. We've been here a long time. You've all been very informative, intelligent, entertaining. What? Oh, well, let me do an ad first. And then we'll have some final words. I forgot. Thank you, Karsten. I meant to do that right after the week ahead. Our show today this is important in the WannaCry world. Our show today brought to you by Carbonite. And I think, if you're reading these stories about ransomware, by the way, made more money last year than ever. It's expected will make $1 billion this year. That's in just hard payments to ransomware authors. The actual productivity loss, it's estimated to be as high as $50 billion this year, and that was before WannaCry. So ransomware is a real problem. And in business, if you have lost access to the data on your computers, that means you've lost everything. You've lost your customer list, your accounts receivable, your supplier list, your books. You can't do your taxes. You can't do anything. You can't go forward. Now, you might say, well, I've got no problem. I've got a good backup. It's right there. Joey in the mailroom. He does that every week. Yeah, that may be encrypted as well. You've got to have off-site backup. I want you to go to Carbonite.com, even if you don't become a customer. Go to the Carbonite for Business. You know, they've got it for home and for office. Go to the Carbonite for Office. You'll see right there in the menu, resources, and they've got a number of white pages on ransomware, what to do to plan for it, what to do to remediate it. It's not a big ad for Carbonite. It's very helpful, useful information. You want to create a disaster recovery plan, and no matter what, you want to have off-site backups. That's the safest. Carbonite has a lot of ways to solve that problem, including on-prem hard drives that back up to Carbonite. They've got high availability solutions. Businesses love Carbonite, and believe me, if you get, there you go, that's the eVault. That is a really nice solution. If you get hit by ransomware, you will love Carbonite too, because you will be back to business instead of shutting the place down. Find out more about Carbonite. Go to Carbonite.com. They have free trials of the home version and the business versions. No credit card required. I would suggest the free trial. Do me a favor, though. When you do the free trial, they'll ask you, they'll say, what's the, you know, they see the offer code. Just put TWIT in there so they know you heard it on This Week in Tech. And by the way, when you do that, you'll get 2 free bonus months if you decide to sign up. It's the most affordable solution for home and office. It's the most effective solution. And if you haven't looked at Carbonite lately, they've got more and more great solutions for small, medium, and large enterprises. Carbonite.com. You got to back it up to get it back. Do it right with Carbonite. Don't forget to use the word TWIT in the promo code. Actually, I do love this story. The Kill Switch guy, the guy who published, registered the site, he gets a $10,000 bounty.
Which he's giving to charities.
And a year's free pizza.
That I hope he's keeping.
UK security researcher, malware tech, white hat hacker. That was the guy who just said, what if we registered this domain name? And HackerOne, which is a bug bounty service, said, just for that, we're giving you $10,000, which he's going to split among charities, and a year's worth. Although, is British pizza good pizza?
Yeah, what kind of pizza I was going to ask?
There can be. That
like
pizza doesn't look
toast.
so good, but it's free.
Yeah. It's Just Eat Reward Global IT. So Just Eat is the name of the...
Oh, that's a big delivery company
Just
in the
Eat.
UK.
Oh, okay. So
good, it comes to him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like
or
a
her.
Postmates here.
Yeah. That's nice. And then the guy is writing for the next web says, malware tech, allow me to add another offer to the list. If our paths ever cross, I'd love to buy you a pint. Several, actually. Isn't that nice? That's Matthew Hughes. Ladies and gentlemen, what a fun day today. Thank you, Nathan, for coming in on your day off, spending some time, for driving up with Mark Millian, he of Bloomberg Business Week.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to have you. Bring Gore on.
Oh, that's going to happen.
Coming.
It's going to happen.
Nice. I heard very good things about French Bulldogs. If you show him to Lisa, I'm going to kill you because she wants another dog.
Wait. What? Lisa's always here. What day can I bring Gore on when Lisa's not here?
You're right.
I can just lie and tell her it's a different kind of dog. What kind of
Can
dog
he be
do you
trained to
want?
bite people on command?
We could do that.
Okay, there we go. That'll solve it.
He's such a good dog.
Oh, he's a sweetie, and I know what Lisa's going to do. She's been saying this for a while, but Ozzy, as you know, passed away. We lost our sweet Papillon. And I'm still grieving, but she's not. She wants another dog. We're going to have 3 cats. I don't think another dog is in the mix. Does Goron like kitties?
He hasn't had too many interactions with cats.
Yeah, maybe I'll bring a cat. That'll fix him.
He's great with other dogs, though, because he thinks he's so much bigger than he actually is. So he'll play with anyone, big and small.
Yeah, huge
great.
golden retrievers.
Maybe I shouldn't be here either.
Yeah.
And there you go, Jeff Jarvis. Always a pleasure too for joining us.
Always, I'm so happy to be at the grown-ups table. I love being on
table. We'll be back at the kids table on Wednesday with This Week in Google. Catch Jeff's work at buzzmachine.com and get his books. Just buy all his books. Put them on the bookshelf. People will think you're an intellectual. It's a good thing to do. How have you measured how wide the shelf? Would it be a 7-foot shelf if you got all of Jeff's books?
Be about 8 inches.
I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for joining us. We do Twit every Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, 2200, about 8 inches. UTC, if you want to join us in studio, you can email tickets at twit.tv, as some intrepid adventurers did from all over the world. Would love to put a chair out for you, have you join us. If you can't watch live or be in studio or be in the chat room at irc.twit.tv, don't worry, because everything's on demand at the website, twit.tv. Yes, that expensive website. Please visit it. Just make me feel better. And by the way, while you're there, you can subscribe or just use your favorite podcast program and subscribe, because we don't want you to miss an episode. Thanks for being here. Another Twit is in the can. Bye-bye.
This is amazing.
Doing the Twit.